Hey, welcome everybody. I think we're on. Let me make sure here. Yep, that one's going. All right. One works. Let's check out the other. Those unfamiliar, most of the time, this simulcasts on a mirror. And if you cannot access my main channel, I try to post all the content on the mirror channel. It's just that, sorry about the name, folks. It just occurred to me that considering I talk about the concept of mirroring, it's probably not the best thing to call it, but it's a backup channel. Hang on really quick. All right. It's a backup channel. Speaking of the backup channel, that was just what you heard. So, all right. Hang on really. Okay, so it looks like we're live. Yeah. All right. Well, welcome everybody. Well, hello, ETA. Yeah, trying to keep it positive. Doing my best. It's been look, I'm happy to be alive and I'm grateful for a lot of things, but I'm also aware that I still have a lot of work to do. And lately I've been posting articles that have been kind of about the media cycle and negative energy. I wasn't even necessarily conscious that I was getting that deep into the discussion, but it just occurred to me just how relevant the topic of psychoenergetics is and how the internet is a modern form of energy accumulation, the same way that there's certain pyramidal structures that are global that didn't actually get designed with good intentions in mind. Sadly, it was done with malevolent intentions. So sorry guys, I've got to do something really quick here. And I'm trying to get something going here on this screen. It's kind of a challenge. It seems like I always get these weird technical errors, but just give me a bit and I'll get this going. All right, hang on. Gotta do this. I have this way that I verify that my streams are being seen. And I got to take care of that really fast. And I'll try to talk while I'm doing it, but I am a bit distracted. But I'm going to be doing some articles. Maybe I should just start off by playing one of these videos. That'll probably help things out because most of you have probably seen this already. So it'll just be a quick refresher. And hang on really fast. All right, let me get this on the air. All right. I think I'll do it this way. So I'll start off by playing some of these latest things that I've done that are just quick blips here on these topics. Oh, good. It shows that I'm live. All right. I'm going to start off with a clip that I posted yesterday called If You Believe in God, Creator Providing Synchronicity, Then What Does Its Inverse Look Like? So if you've already seen that, just give it, several minutes or just consider it a quick refresh. And then that way I can have a little bit of time for folks to join. And let me do this. All right. With you that I've been discussing with a friend of mine, having a philosophical discussion about this thread that was on Twitter. It kind of starts about the whole black rock, black stone, the symbolism behind that, and how those companies form their cryptograms within the structure of their business. Because both businesses basically are cryptograms. If you're not familiar with that term, look it up. Like a cipher, something that requires a decode. And you find this a lot within corporate logos. It's not like it's that uncommon. This is a pretty, normal thing. But when you read this thread, it might change your mind about how benign those things are, or whether or not they're just simply names and that there's no other meaning behind them. And then once you get past that, then I think it's just about, how relevant is it, and whether or not you believe and why you believe that it is relevant, and the debates that surround that. So let me just get to this thing. Towards the end of their thread, and I'm going to put it in the comment section because no matter what you think of this, I think you should read it. Anybody who wants to know more about Blackstone and BlackRock and the whole real estate market in general, doesn't get deep into that. It gets deep into their history and who formed them and everything. And then once you get to the end of the article, you're like, wow, this just feels top-down evil. And then it brings you into a larger philosophical discussion about what is evil, what's the nature of evil. This is fascinating to me. So when they're hypothesizing about like why it happened or why they developed these cryptograms surrounding BlackRock and Blackstone, it's revealed that the owners actually did it intentionally. And they discuss it. They talked about it on MSNBC, on CNBC, financial news networks. They actually said, yeah, they did it. And they thought people would come after them if they learned what they were doing, like as a joke. So these things are kind of out there, but let me read something to you from something called The Most Dangerous Book in the World. When discussing the origins of why these people are doing this and what their motivations are and what the larger philosophical discussion is. It says, it needs someone who is as versed in Kabbalah as in conspiracy, in Gematria as in government. It requires a new science, a new art, a new approach to the old material. Furthermore, it requires a sense that conspiracy may be transcendental, may have its origins in the unconscious mind of the state. The numerology alone is significant. Someone, somewhere, is pulling these particular quantum strings. The numbers are consistent, insistent. They are either the result of a conscious and deliberate series of acts by agents so powerful and so unknown that a belief in an ultimate secret society is the only option, or they are evidence of the workings of an even darker force, and no one is in charge. That last part, evidence of the workings of an even darker force, and no one is in charge, that's what gets me thinking. Because the more you dig into these types of things and find the synchronicities, the patterns, it's hard to deny that they're there. You can't shut it off. The people that get it, they're brilliant at deciphering it. But understanding its origins, I think, is where we sometimes fail. Because I don't know. I don't always know. Some things, yeah, I know the origins. Like this particular case, these guys straight up said that was their intention. They synchronized the names of their companies to be BlackRock, Blackstone. Then you get deeper into it and you realize, wow, there's way more going on. Especially now that they manage trillions of wealth, real estate prices are through the roof. Basically making people homeless. Basically taking people's property values away intentionally to enrich how many people? Okay, fine, guys. Boo, rich people, but it's not that. Not really. I think that I've been wondering this myself lately. Why don't people with money that are at this level? I'm not talking about average people, guys, or people that actually have to think about their future. I'm talking about people that never have to worry about it. These are people that once they get to a certain point, they can't fail. Even if they go bankrupt several times, they still don't fail. Once you would attain a certain amount of wealth, you just can't fail. So it begs the question, why within this material world do the people who cannot fail choose to fail at a human level so tragically? Why are we so obsessed with the guy that has $300 billion buying Twitter? Twitter is an energy loop. The more time you spend on Twitter, the more you feel like, sending a zinger at somebody, saying something clever, right? Like you really want to go, yeah, I got that person. Dumb liberal, dumb conservative, right-wing nut, idiot, right? You get in the loop, don't you?
It's normal. It's designed to do that. You understand that, right? You also understand that many of the things that you're arguing with on Twitter are things, not people. They're bots. They're purchased personalities. That's why they have such fake cryptogram sounding names. Sometimes all they're doing is combining a series of real photos into one that looks like a real person, but the average person can kind of look and go, that seems off resonance. That doesn't really look like a person. And it looks more like just a regular person that photoshopped themselves to clean themselves up a little bit or look different. So it gets back to the question, is this evidence of the workings of an even darker force and no one is in charge? Meaning, is there even a central figure that we know in this material world that's controlling this? It's something to ask yourself, I think, when you're dealing with or facing something that you perceive as evil or know is evil. If you find one of these synchronicities, or just some happens to rise to the surface in a situation, I think this is something to consider philosophically. What is its origins? Should you automatically assume that there's a head honcho or a boss? Or is it that just like the Holy Spirit, just like the universal plasma field, just like whatever creator you believe in, is it possible that the same thing that blesses us with, kindness and charity and goodwill, the Holy Spirit, the creation energy, whatever you want to call it, whatever fits your particular belief system. But the thing that I've learned over time that is absolutely true is that there is a higher power. There is God. There is a creator. And what I learned by studying energetics is that within everything, there's an inverse. There's a mirror. There's an opposite. As sure as there's north, there's south. As sure as there's east, there's west. As sure as there's 0 degrees, there's 180 degrees. As sure as there's 90 degrees, there's 270 degrees. As sure as there's 33 degrees, there's 213 degrees. I'm not being clever there. That's an actual azimuth that you really should look into, the real meaning of that number. It's an azimuth, an angle. Why do people make a point to assign negativity to things that aren't that way? Why do we choose and select within our subconscious mind to sometimes program what we witness or see as evil when it's benign or just simply synchronistic? I just want something out there today to be considered, this to be considered. Because I've been thinking about this a lot. And I think going into this weekend, especially, being a holy holiday, those who are watching in the future, this is Easter weekend, this is Good Friday, Passover is now too. Just maybe to think about these things, because I think if you believe in this larger creator or a God as a creator, then you must know the same types of synchronicities can happen in the inverse. And knowing which is which, that is the challenge. Thank you.
All right. Hang on. So, yeah, that was big time.
It's electric.
What just happened? Sorry.
Extraordinary.
Didn't want that to happen. Sorry. Well, there's the phrase right there. So let's just keep that up on the screen. I did not ask this person if I could use their Twitter thread, but they put it out there. So I'm just going to do it. It's extremely good. I've been borrowing slides from it because there's so many good points that are made within this. So I did put a link in that article. If you're curious to read the Twitter thread yourself, I very much recommend it. Because it really made me think about who's pulling the strings on some of these activities that are more malevolent in nature. It's strange, when you start to become aware that there is a higher power or a creator, when you had spent a good part of your life in doubt. I'd say for me, it began about 6 years ago. I was really receiving a lot of information that was explaining to me that nothing could have happened on this physical plane that we exist in without something that you would call a higher power or a creator looking down upon us. It's just logistics. That's the thing about it, guys. I'm not saying this is like I found God in the classic sense. I mean, like, logistically, it made no sense how people that would span hundreds of years, thousands of years across time could have made alignments so precise from one location to another. It was something that had to live within people through a higher power. And this I would say is consistent with what they call the Holy Spirit within Christianity and, Catholicism, I guess. But it could be a lot of things, guys, and I guess it's all depending on your philosophical background and what you think. But you know I don't how am I trying to say this, guys? There's almost no way that these things could have happened without somebody kind of looking down and giving help to people going back, centuries. That's just what I've determined. There's too many alignments that are far apart, thousands of miles apart, where the events took place, way too far apart from one another, but they still align. How do I mean? Well, like something as simple as like I found an alignment where at the Mary Hill Stonehenge that was built in the early 1900s, that it lines up to the Vatican at 33 degrees, about 33.1, but that could be slightly off because of the way I set the anchor point in the middle of the Stonehenge. But um, again, just me saying the number 33 triggers a whole bunch of people and they immediately think evil. That's the kind of thing I guess that we can talk about a little bit because I deal with this problem all the time. I personally don't assign negativity to numbers the way some other people do. I acknowledge that the patterns exist. I see that they're being placed out there, but I can also tell when somebody's trying to create an opposite or a mirror to something that's positive. And so, one of the things that I know is that these 33-degree alignments are all across the world. What that points to and what that signifies, you guys can debate till the cows come home. I don't really care. It's just simply that I find them over and over and over again. And as far as I'm concerned, I just don't see how anybody could have done this that was human in and of themselves without receiving help from above of some sort. How they did it, who they did it through. Were these the people they call the half gods or the angels or something like that that helped facilitate it? Maybe. But did they even know they were doing it? And so then once I started thinking about that in a positive way about the Holy Spirit and the things that happen within, that energy, the creation energy, the fountain of life, the thing to be more represented by water and those types of elements within our physical reality. But you would call it positive orgone radiation. That would be one term for it, POR, that kind of thing. And when I thought about that, it just occurred to me that oftentimes these sort of what people call evil or Luciferian or satanic reversals and mirrors may simply be an automated reaction, an inverse of a pure spirit, an inverse of a pure good. That whenever something happens that's of that like that, there is an inverse that occurs within physical reality. There's a mirror. And then I started to really wonder how much truly is deliberate and what's manufactured, and does it even make a difference anymore? Because the mirrors and the inverse of that energy are going to exist regardless. Um, and so before I get too deep into that part, which I'm not going to really, the point of this today mostly is to discuss um, a couple articles by researcher Valery Uvarov and some of his pyramidal structures and what he's learned and rather taught others and wrote books about pyramidal energy and ways of constructing pyramids. I've had inquiries made saying, what would you recommend if somebody was trying to build a pyramid or something like that? Having not done it myself, I couldn't tell you. Aside from, I've read a lot of very good articles and well, many chapters of the books of Uvarov, where I'm pretty convinced that that guy really has the answers. And I hardly ever give like an individual person that much, credit for those types of things, which is to say, like, I mean, if they deserve it, sure, I definitely want it attributed to them. But I almost never say, like, yeah, that person's seems like their information's rock solid. It's almost never that I feel that way. There's far too many people that are trying to manipulate narratives because that's what they get paid to do, especially when it comes to energy concepts that are positive and loving in nature, or people that are willing to promote false narratives where they make it seem as if a place that is actually an energy accumulator is um, a source of life energy. There's that trick too. So these inverses, whether they're deliberate or just the work of some larger power, who knows, guys? But the fact is that for every action, there's a reaction. What goes up must come down. It's just the way things are. That's within all everything that we're talking about within energetics. There's POR, there's DOR. There's positive orgone, there's dormant or dark orgone. All right, so let me get another slide going here. Hang on really fast. I got to get these tabs together. All right. So the one that I want to start off with is the mechanics of negative energy, and this is completely from um, this one is completely from Uvarov, and I'm going to be reading a couple of the articles almost just straightforward without much additions to it, because I don't think that a lot of people have an opportunity to see this information. And for me personally, this was everything. Learning this article really helped me understand the larger spiritual battle way better. Not to mention just everything he knows about architecture and pyramidal structures in general, and the way he has information that's a little bit different than what other people would tend to promote or put out there. So let me begin. And I think this one's really important to have the visuals too. Also, wow, that's really difficult to read, at least on my screen. I'm not sure why that is. Hang on. Oh, it looks like you guys are, yeah. For some reason, that font looks weird on my playback screen, but it looks like I'm looking at it on a TV set at the same time, and it looks all right. All right, so let me get this going here. This is from Uvarov's website, Wands of Horus, or the Wand Store. I can't remember which one it is. Yeah, it's Wand Store. But anyways, everything that made Egypt great was once received from the hands of the gods. The importance of the knowledge received from the Neferu, permeating every aspect of life, was so great that all subsequent civilizations and generations recognized and acknowledged the validity only of what had its origin with the Neferu was given by them, what was explained by or connected with the first time, the time of the Neferu. And so ancient wisdom said, beware of those whose doings are not rooted in ancient times, for all they bring is lies, sham, and destruction. Sublimity and sincerity of intention is the determining energy catalyst that sets in motion the processes leading to transformation and ascension. Carefully veiled lies and deception invest any process with a negative charge and will always lead to decline and destruction. For this very reason, the pyramids of Egypt were not built by slaves. Under no circumstances, the initiates of antiquity would have allowed people with dishonest intentions and negative thoughts, or who are in a negative psycho-emotional state, to participate in the construction of pyramids and temples, because everything they touch would then become a carrier of negative vibrations. Pyramids or temples built by people with impure intent would at best not work at all, and at worst would charge people with negative energy and inflict colossal damage on their surroundings and the ecology of the energy field of consciousness, the noosphere. Hang on, folks. Before we take a look at the technology and mechanisms of a contamination with negative vibrations, we have to answer the main question: why at all make use of negative energy? The fact is that this type of energy allows you to effectively control the behavior of people. The Maya and the Aztec priests, as well as some Tibetan and Egyptian cults, use this type of energy to influence the will and consciousness of people in their pursuit to establish contact with the gods and to maintain their cults. To what end have negative energies been used? Negative energies, vibrations, are one of the most powerful types of psi energy. The idea of utilizing this kind of energy has come to the mind of the priests of those cultures and civilizations where the knowledge of how to properly build pyramids to communicate with the gods, based on the teaching of the unity of the structure of man, earth, and universe, was completely lost and has been replaced by religious cult. Of the thousands of pyramids that have survived to some extent, at best, some embody within themselves knowledge and cult in 50-50% ratio, where the geometry and the key parameters of the structure that determine the tuning and effectiveness of the pyramid are superimposed on the correct selection of the site of its construction. In all other cases, the model of the mechanism of wave and the resonant processes, which should be expressed in strictly defined linear values of the structure parameters, is reflected in the form of a system tied to numerology and simple integer values, replacing golden section and dynamic geometry. As a result of the loss of knowledge and conscious substitution of concepts and principles, the pyramids built by the priests did not give the desired energy outcome. Communication with the gods did not occur. Sufficiently qualified to assess the energy properties of the Maya and Aztec pyramids, this important conclusion results. Sorry, guys. Conclusion results, they do not work, and they did not work from the start because the knowledge of how to choose the right place and how to build pyramids properly had long before been lost. With few exceptions, the paving stone stacked pyramids of the Maya and Aztecs were bizarre structures that did not give the priests the slightest chance to communicate with the gods. This was a huge problem that had to be resolved in some way, since the reputation of the cult, the welfare of the priests, and even their lives depended on it. To switch on the pyramid, a powerful energy boost. Hang on, I'm trying to make this a little bit larger to easier to read. All right, sorry about that. To switch on the pyramid, a powerful energy boost was needed. A source and mediator of such an impulse is the human being. If a pyramid is not built correctly and does not generate energy resonating with natural energy sources, there is only one way out: to turn it into an energy accumulator. For this, the pyramids and the surrounding temples were painted red. Why red? Hang on really quick. I want you to see some of these slides. It's kind of part of the thing. So interesting sound effects going on back there. The wavelength of red light color is the largest, so it has maximum effect. Red enclosed space accumulates energy, psi energy, very well. Having lost their knowledge of the rules on how to build pyramids, the Maya and Aztec priests from the onset planned and built their pyramids as psi accumulators. But for a battery, you need a charger. How to create such a charger? A generator of psi energy and make the pyramid work? For this, you need a living being, whom you need to force into emotions and put in great fear. The greater the threat, the stronger the neuro-emotional release, and the stronger and lower frequency the vibration. The longer the energy of this impulse will persist, be stored in the aura of the place of release. All right, folks, this is everything. This is everything. This is happening all over the world right now. Energy accumulators. Human energy to feed the accumulator. This is what's giving these people their influence that are of the negative types. And this is why they have such a perfect synchronistic way about them, where they seem like they're performing magic. They're sometimes some of the best, most talented musicians that don't have like a brain cell to spare. Yet they can do all of these very strange, like they have unlimitless talent. You seem to wonder, like, how is this person doing it? Well, it's this process. But this also exists within the creator, within the positive orgone radiation spectrum. You do also experience synchronicities there. Knowing which is which, again, that's exactly what the last article was about that I started this whole thing off with. That's a big deal. It is such a challenge to know when you're experiencing synchronicity that's informed by this type of energy accumulation, and which one is literally the Holy Spirit or the life force that's living through you and inside you, which it does in everybody, even the darkest people. What I mean to say is their personalities are dark. The people that have what seem to be negativity, they still have the Holy Spirit in them, and there's still that working through them. There's still creation energy because there's both spectrums of energy. But there's no doubt that energy accumulators do exist, and there's people that are connected to energy accumulators. How does that work? Let me give you an example. So, what you saw there was the pyramids there, the Mayan step pyramids. All right, this up here. What this is now, guys, is this is in infrastructure. They no longer need big structures like this. You can simply put a series of suburban homes up on a hilltop that has these high energy signatures that are geomagnetically aligned, and you just go out of your way to build them improperly, not in synchronization with creation, not in synchronization with the human machine, which I'll show you examples of. There's a way to do positive radiation spectrum, and there's a way to do negative. And what we have now, folks, is again, these are people that are godless. They're not communicating with the gods or God. So they seek the opposing energy because they're just trying to, hit the easy button on getting influence, money, wealth, everything. But you need a human to feed the machine. You need human energy to actually feed the accumulator, and then they get their fuel. I've actually seen this in multiple places. Neighborhoods that are established and set up as energy accumulators, modern structures that are just homes, regular suburban homes that are placed in geomagnetic locations to draw in like it's like a vacuum. And then they simply need to place humans within the influence of this location. And then they have their energy drained, drained, drained. What does that actually mean? I've done research into this, and it's been a big part of my articles in energetics. If you watch part 11 of my series, Energetics and Archaeometry, part 11 discusses how to measure biofields relative to whatever. And the thing I've observed is there's a lot of people that have very strong biofields, which is within the trinity of human energy. We acknowledge that we have a skeletal structure in physical matter. We have our epidural layer, our face, what everybody sees in front of them. But the part, and I call the one the physical non-visible. I call this the physical visible. But what's the third? That's the non-physical, mostly non-visible. Some people can see it, and then of course you have devices like the BioWell or the Helionosis Life Meter, where even though you don't see the energy, we at least know that there's some tangible, measurable way of addressing that and figuring it out. Like, is the energy there, and to what degree, and how strong is it? All right. The problem is, guys, ladies and gentlemen, is that what we have are people that have basically taken the Mayan step pyramid ways, and they're all over the place. It's global, it's not just in the United States. And they've learned that they can hive together and use humans for this energy accumulation. And it is a biological, scientific process that Western science denies simply because this is being used in secret on people. The only way to achieve this and actually be able to get away with it is to simply say the person deserves it and then put them into the bird's nest, so to speak. The human becomes the worm for all of the energy accumulating birds. just like the mother brings the worms and all the different things back to the bird's nest, and they're all waiting to eat. You know something, guys? I think I know of a neighborhood named Bird's Nest, spelled just like Admiral Byrd, where something like this happened. Right, Estacada, Oregon? And you know something? It's connected to a hydroelectric dam that used to be called Cazadero and is now called Faraday. Designed by a bloodline family that's been in America doing energy accumulation since at least 1905. That's even before they formed the Federal Reserve. Interesting, isn't it? These people that I've been very close to at times, how do I know? I was a worm in a bird's nest. I had energy accumulated from me to the point where you could see my rib cage. My eyes are all sunken in. It does chip away at you physically, aggressively. It is a horrible, wicked, and insidious system. And everybody that buys into it and feeds off of it are soulless. You'll see them, they're nearly zombie like. These neighborhoods exist. Just letting you know that. They don't require a step pyramid. What you just need is a hilltop that's geomagnetically strong, has stronger than average signatures. There's some places, guys, we all know. You go up to a hilltop or a mountain, the energy's different. Then they just simply turn it all into a energy accumulator, where it literally takes away from your biofield until you're physically drained. So when you hear me discuss that there's a spiritual war going on in America and other places, I'm actually talking about this. Many of you call what's going on a different program. Please don't say it in my chat because it doesn't help things. But you know the program I'm talking about. Okay. It's not what you think. The reason why they get you so focused on that term that they apply to it is because it facilitates, and you defining yourself as that term helps accumulate your energy. I'm giving you very, very good advice when I say, please, please, please do not self identify with that term. It is part of that. It is the modern form of this. You are the living sacrifice when you address yourself that way within these neighborhoods, within these buildings, and many of them exist all over the world. It's in the infrastructure. It can be done with plumbing lines, water frequency, resonant water frequencies, and the rest is pretty much a psychoenergetic process. They've learned that it's just like having two magnets. This magnet draws in from this to this, right? So one person consumes this type of magnet, one person consumes this type of magnet, mostly unwittingly. It's like they place the materials in one person. That makes their body electricity resonate or rather amplify. So just by virtue of what they consume, and this is done through airborne pathogens and adding things to their food or drink. Okay. Sorry, guys, I really don't like to go there and get that explicit with it, but you need to know what I know. And I figured out now because this is happening in way too many places. The people that it happens to sometimes are some of the most decent, pure hearted, honorable, kind natured people that you'll ever meet. And that's exactly why they're chosen. That's exactly why they're placed into these systems that are energy accumulators. And then they're gaslit, they're treated in very they turn your life into an emotional roller coaster. What I'm explaining to you guys is this doesn't just isn't just because pyramid or Mayan pyramids or something ancient. It has been translated into modern technology. Okay. All right. So I'm going to reread a little bit of this. All right. The wavelength of red light color is the largest, so it has the maximum effect. Red enclosed space accumulates psi energy very well. Having lost their knowledge of the rules of how to build pyramids, the Maya and Aztec priests from the onset planned and built their pyramids as psi accumulators. Again, what I'm explaining to you folks is the neighborhoods that are doing this would be basically hacking this concept or repurposing this concept within residences, apartment buildings, that kind of thing. All right. All very easy to do just with technology now, in ways that hack into body electricity, water frequency, taking advantage of that. You have plumbing lines that have metal in it, and you have 60, 70% water content in your body. And then everything else is just vibrating at a constant signal in a way that agitates the human, and then they begin having their energy shook from them. Their biofield is completely dismantled until it begins to affect their physical being. So they start off being this very good natured, pure hearted person. And most of these people maintain that nature, by the way. It's not like they lose that part of themselves, but physically, they get chipped away at. Physically, they're constantly bombarded with negative messaging, with emotional roller coasters, with abusive relationships, all of it. It's all part of the psi accumulation. What is gained from this? The people that take the energy become more successful, more wealthy. They don't have a problem in the world. They can walk for miles and miles or go on jogs and bike rides in ways that are nearly super soldier like. It's how it works. There's another aspect to this, guys, that is about technology and some of the things that are used within it. For example, some of these Neuralink style devices that hack into, there's ways, folks. I'm just going to tell you this, all right, because you need to know it. There's ways for people to like do Google Glass type functions without needing Google Glasses. The same way you can get LASIK surgery, these things are designed basically to be installed within the human eye, and they can then have all the same capabilities as Google Glass, right down to being in virtual reality environments, which explains, if you really think about it, how some of these people are able to do the things that they're able to do in ways that are nearly undetectable to the outside world. It's a closed network that uses a more Luciferian satanic model of energy accumulation in a tandem with regular electricity combined with human plasma or bioplasma. So it's a two-folded or a two-sided thing here, where they need both electricity in the classic form of it that we're all used to knowing about, but they also need biofield energy. They need bioenergetic sources. They need human sources to feed off of, because it drives the device. It's a fuel to actually creating the physical layer. Well, not physical layer, but the layer of information that's put across their eye when they receive emails, when they go into VR environments, when they do whatever they're doing back and forth, recording things. It's all in there. It requires electricity and human energy. Guys, I know that makes me sound a little bit weird, but nearly all of these things, when you really start digging into the research and doing it, you're going to find this will match the things that I've been discussing with my Wizard of Hertz articles. If you look at my Wizard of Hertz articles, it's about these programs. I just don't talk about it the same way other people do. And I tell you about a lot of the technology innovations that are made a reality to do that. Okay. And yeah, so that's right. Chromosphere, red enclosed space. Yeah, you got it. But there's more to it. It's funny that you said that word, actually, because I do believe that chromium is a powder, or powdered chromium or powdered rust is probably one of the methods that they use to actually pull the energy from another person. So one person ingests something that would be similar to like a digestible form of rust, decayed metals, and then the person that's on the receiving end of the energy does not. They have something that literally would create a magnetic flow of energy between the person that consumes the rust. And then if you think about it, this is just science. Like, this is as simple as if you put a bunch of shaved metals on the here and took a magnet and hovered above it, what would happen? The metals would draw towards the magnet. That's what's going on physically to these people. They ingest the powdered little fragments of metal, and then the person that's sucking the energy is literally the magnet that's going And so the result is that the metals that are inside their body that are very toxic, they never like exit towards that person, but it pulls their biofield, it pulls their bioplasma towards the person that's the accumulating the energy of the victim. And folks, you need to know this. There's people that really get this. And if you've ever been had it happen to you, you would really know it. You'll wind up getting trolled aggressively. You will wonder why people around don't have a single care in the world and don't give a shit about you. And this explains it. One of the neighborhoods that this happened to me in, that I luckily escaped, that's the only way I can explain it. I call it escaping that neighborhood. Of course, they do all this way in a way that's plausibly deniable, but I'm like one of those very few people that can actually show you top down how they're doing it. They get special floor tiles, they get special plumbing, and it's all designed to create water frequency hacks where everything's vibrated on a common clock. You may notice that this has ever happened to you. There's a vibration that's associated with it. It'll drive somebody nuts just the sound of it. They'll sometimes amplify a semi truck or a large vehicle that does like landscaping. All of this like will just and they'll stay parked around for hours, and it just vibrates your body, your brain, and everything very aggressively. Then the energy begins to pull out of you, and it goes to who? The people that are consuming the thing that's the magnet to the metals that are in your system. All right. Yeah. Oh, good. Okay. Well, I'm glad that you're okay. I'm glad people are figuring this out. Okay. Sometimes I'm wondering, like, if I say these things, how much people are even going to be able to accept a reality, or if it resonates with them at all. And I'm glad that well, look, I'm not glad. I wish you guys did not know about it, and because you weren't experiencing it. But if you've ever experienced it, all I can tell you is that hopefully this will give you the knowledge to address it. I've pieced this together just recently. I knew the basics of how it worked, most of this, but I hadn't really gotten it entirely until I read the Uvarov material over and over again. I had to read this article like so many times. So there's a link to this exact article in the description, and I would very strongly encourage people to understand this material intrinsically. And I'm going to keep reading it. So I didn't mean to take such a long break from it, but hang on really quick. And then once I'm done reading this article, I'll get more into whatever, into the discussion. All right, so how to create such a charger, a generator of psi energy, and make the pyramid work. Or guys, just you can also just substitute that with how do you make one of these neighborhoods vibrate the energy out of a person, right? For this, you need a living being whom you need to force into emotions and put into great fear. The greater the threat, the stronger the neuroemotional release, and the stronger and lower frequency the vibration, the longer the energy of this impulse will persist and be stored in the aura of the place of release. Within the psi energy spectrum, fear of death gives the most powerful and strongest impulse. This type of energy is extremely negative, but very strong and, most importantly, available. No knowledge is required, no need to create anything. All you have to do is get a hold of a living creature, start to torment it, and kill it in agony. This was the path chosen by the priests at the Maya and Aztec pyramids. Mass sacrificing was started to create and accumulate powerful streams of negative psi energies. And now, folks, that's the direct sacrifice has mostly been placed, or rather replaced, with just torturing a person indefinitely with behavioral triggers, making their lives miserable, but also keeping them stationary and static to where they don't have the ability to go anywhere, and they just have to sit there and take it. Well, COVID kind of made that happen, did it not? A whole bunch of people were forced to stay at home, and then guess what? My guess is a whole bunch of them thought they got various ailments that were called COVID, but they were really a cover ID for aggressive energy, psi energy accumulation. And some people, it'll just kill them straight up. Others, they can last for years and years having it happen to them off and on. That's been the case with me. It's happened to me multiple times. I recover each time, but yeah, it hurts. It definitely leaves behind permanent things and factors. I'll give you an example. I used to have, look, I used to have an ass that kind of stuck out a little bit, be honest with you, and that's gone. I used to have thicker calves. That's gone. My legs are a lot skinnier. But I mean, I've basically mostly restored my physical self because I've learned to not allow the behavioral aspect of this trigger me as aggressively as it used to. I don't let them, when I'm aware that it's happening, I don't let the behavioral things like really ruminate with me. I immediately go into meditation. I try to find that inner peace, and anybody I've shown this technique to and told them what I do. And again, guys, I never look. There's. You need to have the crystal. You need to have quartz. Forget everything else. Don't talk to me about all these different brands and different types and ones that are just puns for shunning people. I'm sick of that crap. No, you just need the cheapest quartz crystal, the kind of crap you can find on your own. You don't have to go searching for different stores. You may even benefit from getting a crystal that's near you, like finding one in nature that's inside a rock near your neighborhood, because the materials would be more consistent with what your surroundings are. And I would say just you need to find your inner peace. You need to like practice it, that when you're in the most intensely emotional circumstances, to learn how to just go, no, I'm not going to go into the loop of negativity. I know what this is designed to do. It is such a battle. It's right in here. I'm telling you. What these people do with these systems is so inhuman that it's so challenging and so difficult to actually be able to get to that place, because it's so unjust. You're going to be like, that's what it did to me, guys. And I was dealing with some of the worst of the worst. Like the neighborhood it happened to me in, simultaneously I was learning horrible things about my bloodline that I never wanted to know. And as that happened, the pump started aggressively hitting me. And by the way, guys, they had everything covered. They had antenna structures 2 houses down. They had an antenna structure right behind me. I can show you pictures of this to prove it. I come from a group of people that do this to people. Now, I don't, but they did it to me. And so when you've been close to the designers and they actually use you as a human sacrifice, a living sacrifice, and by the way, if there's some cops out there that are watching this or listening to this, or somebody who's rolling their eyes, you have no right to do that. I'm going to show you how this works, because it works the same way as just like, well, you could take a radar gun and just aim it at a person's head all day long and it would harm them. But that's the same radar gun they use to catch speeders. But it can also chip away at a person's biofield indefinitely. They've learned all kinds of little tricks. All right. So, continuing on with the article. At first, animals were sacrificed, but this did not give the desired effect. So, as a sacrifice worthy of the gods, so that they would respond to the call of the priests, they started using human beings created in the image and likeness. They killed thousands and thousands, blood flowed like a river. At a certain point in the sacrificial ritual, the priests cut open the chest of a specially selected victim with an obsidian knife, pulled out of the still throbbing heart, and put it into a large bowl filled with blood. Sorry, folks. I know we're on a holiday weekend. I don't mean to go dark, but there's something positive that's going to happen at the end of this. So bear with me here. The bowl was placed on a special pedestal, sacrificial table, in the center of the upper altar chamber of the pyramid. The priests proceeded to the perimeter of the upper platform of the pyramid, and the mass sacrifice began. The energies of fear and the emotions of the crowd began to rise up the steps of the pyramid. Sensing these vibrations, the priests who were facing the crowd, their backs to the bowl, began to swing their arms like oars, directing the rising energy towards the blood filled bowl. When the energy field reached a certain density, the priests approached the bowl and started drinking with fear energy charged blood, causing a trance effect. Now, folks, that's why vampirism exists. This is traumatized, consumable material, and when they consume the trauma, this is the energy link they get. You see what it says? They approached the bowl and started drinking with fear energy charged blood, causing a trance effect. Then they go into the priests entered a kind of altered state of consciousness, stood on the perimeter of the upper pyramid platform, and began to control the energy flow, directing it towards the vessel and toward the crowd at the foot of the pyramid. If you don't think it works, you ain't paying attention. The crowd was fired up literally, demanding more and more blood, ripping off the skin of the victims' bodies thrown down from the pyramid and putting it on themselves. People ran around the area with wild cries, causing even more horror to those around them. It was an almost all encompassing fear and madness. The crowd became completely controlled, obeying the voice from the top of the pyramid. The appearance of the Spanish conquistadors had halted the development of a very negative scenario for the Earth's noosphere. Had this dark side of power further evolved and strengthened, early civilization would have seamlessly morphed into a bloodthirsty Mordor with all the ensuing consequences. And folks, I would argue what we have today is a soft form of this. And this is partially responsible for what we're seeing going around, is because they basically make people feel like it's a holistic healing method of energy transfer where they're simply allowed to take it from another person who they deem undeserving of said energies, and that person is just simply depleted top down. Um, Folks, there's a lot of very decent, kind, warm natured, incredibly intelligent people that have enormous potential for doing good. I would argue some of them are on the level of angels and half gods that are here on earth to do holy work and to facilitate something much greater. And this is being done to them aggressively. They are being found, they're being located, they are being harnessed and trafficked. And in some cases, since birth, they get kidnapped from their parents and taken to various places and had their energy accumulated. Got news for you there, Penny. Not saying anyone, I'm talking about money, pennies. Yeah, pennies. That's what I'm talking about. I'm being a little bit of a wise ass, folks, because I got to be careful. I just happen to know out there that there is a lady that I have no interest in ever knowing again that brought a little girl to this country to do this to, who's now an adult and has never had relief from it. And I am sick of that fucking family, to be honest with you. I'm completely fed up with them. I'm completely tired of their indifference to the suffering of others because I know that they're creating it and that they've been doing this for many, many years. And now they've taken what they've learned from doing it to people like her and people like me, and they're doing it to all y'all. Okay? Anybody who's watching this who knows what it feels like, got news for you. The designers of that system, I know how to find them. Now, what are we going to do about it? See, we have groups out there that will not confront this no matter how much evidence they're given. And I've basically produced a whole series of documentaries on what's happening, how it's happening, and who's doing it, why they're doing it. And this actually completes it. Uvarov's research really caps it off and actually proves it, explains all the aspects of it that I can't. But I've got a lot of the technology pieces, and I'm telling you, this is reality. This is actually happening. Okay. All right. Okay. Wow. So yeah, Kelly, I'm telling you. Yeah. And if you're experiencing a synchronicity, there's a reason why. And and you may find, especially if you've been getting a lot of downloads or like what some people call DNA activations for a while now, that a lot of people may have made attempts to chip away at your spirit. So I would say if that's something that you feel is going on, then please take this advice. And like the times where people try to f with you the most and make you the most miserable, that's when you can't feed them the anger. I know it's like the one thing that it's like we deserve the right to stand up for ourselves. We should be able to. And I'm telling you though, the best way to stand up for yourself, and this is not being complacent. You can't give away your energy. If you do, they succeed every time, and they will vibe, zhun, 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 add all kinds of different factors in. And this is when you have to sort of go, all right, I can't get upset right now. As much as I have the right to yell, and as much as I have the right to fight back, and the best fight is you got to like go like you just bring it all down, you try to meditate if it's at all possible. And I'm telling you, once you got this, what you start to see is it starts to reverse on them. It does. And I've been practicing this for a long time. And there's other things that I do to synchronize myself to earth energies that are completely benign to the outside world and only are for me. I don't have to do anything through anybody else. That's what really bothers me about what these people do. It doesn't have to be this way. People could actually receive the positive energies without ever having to take from another or whatever. I mean, we're all creators of this. We're all sources of it for one another. And when we're giving each other affirmations, when we're treating each other with respect, when we're showing love for one another, when we're actually taking care of one another, this is when we actually thrive. And so what you're going to find is that once you have these abilities and you actually are one of these I call people that have this happen to them, they're almost always what I call bioenergetic super delegates. You're a person that just like broadcasts and radiates so much creation energy. Like you're the people that are like this, they can't stop making things. They have a strong desire to create. They have a strong desire to inform everything, and they just they're held back. They're kept from reaching their true potential because somebody's using them as an energy source. They get into bad marriages, bad relationships, bad work environments, just bad left and right, and it's not their fault. They're being pushed, they're being shoved, they're being relocated off. I mean, guys, I'm something just I can't talk about things that are personal in nature, guys, but like I just recently saw something that covers this exact territory, and I know that's what this is. And God bless that person. I'm not going to say anymore. You know, the person that it happened to, you're a really decent human being, and I'm sorry that this is all going on, but I promise you that I'm going to do everything I can to fight this and tell everybody how it works, because it's just one of those things that's hard to believe and hard for the average person to wrap their head around. But I'll be damned if I'm going to let that stop me. People will understand this. And once more people understand it, fewer people will be able to get away with it. There used to be a time when it was kept a secret because if too many people discovered how to do it, then too many people would do it. But we're already there, folks. It's happening all over the place now. So if we don't educate people, that's a moot argument. It's just a bad thing to do. Now people need the awareness and the awakening. They really do. Yeah. And so, sorry, Lumberjack, that thing about Penny wasn't designed for you or anything else like that. Just so you know, I'm not going to expand on it, but don't worry, that wasn't designed for you. I know sometimes our synchronicities are very, very strange and things like that, but it's just, that's the thing you got to understand too. That's one of the reasons why I did that whole article on the whole black rock, black stone. And if there's a creation god energy, then what's its inverse look like and how does it manifest? That's what I'm telling you. Like there's times where it just happens and no one's doing it consciously, especially, but if you're drawn to me and this material, chances are you will synchronize with me heavily no matter what. Like you're going to find that it's bizarre how much we synchronize, but it's only up to you to figure out like why is that synchronicity occur. I would argue that most of us who are synchronizing like this, it's because we're thinking similarly and we have a similar, it's our biofields meeting somewhere out there in the ionosphere, and that translates to us having ideas in physical reality. That because you have to think of it like you put out, once you have thought form entities, the more you think about something, the more it becomes a thing. The more you vibrate the thought into physical reality, that begins with the biofield. And so if you're just concentrated on a word, it doesn't really matter. That just like goes flows out into the aether, and it binds with all the other people who are having thought forms that are out into the aether, into the biofield, and then they all merge together and they start to return to the sender, because that's the karma cycle. And the karma cycle, guys, isn't like what most people, I mean, I think some people here already know, but really all the karma cycle is that you have an emission of bioplasma, and your thought form entities attached to that plasma, just like a fountain coming out of your mind and out of your body. It dissipates. Guys, if you don't think that's a thing, then when you sweat, you know how like like if you're wet and you're taking a shower, it all drips to the bottom, right? And there's a pool of water there. Well, when you're sweating or experiencing stress or just that response, and you get like a few beads of sweat, all right, you have to start looking at that and going like, wow, when I'm nervous or I'm just upset about something and I begin to sweat right here, what I'm telling you is in that sweat are thought form entities literally. Just like there's information on a drive or like a USB stick or something like that, there is information in that drop of sweat. And the more it begins to evaporate and float away from you, then it's in your biofield. Then it's actually finding other thought form entities within the biofield. Then those thought forms all gather in the biofield, then return to sender, the person that put them out, and then things begin to merge into physical reality. And every thought that you have is travels along Earth brainwave. Human brainwave matches Earth brainwave. So when you think of something, it'll travel the globe 22,000 miles, then find its way back to you. Simple as that. On its way, it binds with other thought form entities within the biofield, and those things get brought into physical matter. Now, all right. All right, cool. So I'm glad that all right, I'm glad this is resonating with folks. Sorry, I'm trying I try to keep my flow going in here, but I'm also I don't want to miss any comments here. Cool. I'm glad you didn't take that way, Lumberjack. Thank you for your comment. Kelly, I don't have an answer for that question. Is the new sphere possibly also Comosphere? I'm going to have to look deeper into that. You may want to share with me what you consider Comosphere, either here or in an email or something like that, or in the comments section, and I can maybe answer that better in time. But right now, I don't have an immediate answer for you. The technology renaissance at the beginning of the last century was associated with the coming to power of the Nazis and gaining access to knowledge about the possibilities of psi energies obtained as a result of the Tibetan expeditions of the Anunnaki. Sorry, guys, I'm very bad at saying these names. The appearance of concentration camps during the Second World War and the massacres that were not just genocide of racist or other nature. The death machine was switched on at the moment when at the front or elsewhere an important task had to be solved. The conveyor belt of death worked rhythmically, generating impulses of fear energy. Folks, folks, this is why you must pay attention to my information about these people, about right here. Okay, they are in America. They've been here since 1945 and before. But guys, we took in a whole bunch of their Nazi SS scientists, and they know this. So if I tell you that old mommy dearest of mine was born in one of the concentration camps for Nazis, you see what I'm saying? Like, Nazis were brought to America also as prisoners of war. Some were taken to Tule Lake. That's where old mommy dearest is from. And she doesn't have a single story to tell old Gabriel about Nazis. That's when I had to call bullshit on certain people in my family and go, you know something? I think you're more than just a person that has a little bit of behavioral issues, mom. I think that you might actually know how this works. Just saying. Doesn't mean she does, but I find it really strange that a woman that was surrounded by Nazis from birth has not a single story about Nazis. It's really weird to me. But hey, you make your own determinations. But I will say that if you move someplace called Bird's Nest, anyways, we'll have to get into that topic another time. Let me just tell you something, though, folks. I am not tolerating any bullshit just because somebody shares a last name or alleges to have been somebody that was raised by me. If you're doing this to people, you're on my list, not the good one. Okay. And since, the time that I stayed in that neighborhood, this happened to me aggressively. And I observed that there was a whole lot of nonsense going around me and people that wouldn't respond to anything. You could be sitting there and going, do none of you people care about human trafficking? And they all just act like they don't see you. They'll completely ignore you. You guys, this is such an insidious system that when this happened, I had two relatives that were nearly zombie like, okay, that pretended I did not exist on my birthday. And I was in the next room. And it was where one of these energy systems is located. That's how cold this energy, when you become an accumulator, that's how cold of a human being it can turn you into. It steals your soul. It is soul jacking technology. It can do it to the people that are the victims of it, but it really honestly it consumes the people that are doing it to the victim. They're the ones that become soulless. People like us don't lose our souls. We keep generating the energy. What state harbors the most Nazis? Oregon. Hands down. Oregon. Go to all of the liberal belief system hubs and you'll find the most Nazis. Just saying. Because their big game is to pretend that they're the inverse of what they actually are. They're always mirroring. All right. You will find no higher concentration of these Nazis than you will in like Southern Oregon, Portland, Oregon, all these countercultural areas that are filled with hippies. Let me explain something to you. Hell no. These aren't real hippies. These are Nazis. Take a look at the governor. And by the way, guys, they're always trying to get you to blame Freemasons. Here's why I have a whole different take on Freemasonry. Because if you yourself are going to run around talking shit about Freemasons, but you don't know a single thing about the Rebecca Assembly, or you don't know a single thing about who the Independent Order of Oddfellows are, I'm not even going to listen to your research. I'm not going to pay attention to a single thing that you're telling me about the evil Freemasons and your perspective. And I'll tell you why. Hitler hated Freemasons. Hitler put Freemasons in the same concentration camps as the Jews. Did you know that? Oh, I get it, guys. So now they're going to try to repackage that maybe he wasn't such a bad guy. I've already seen them doing it on social media in very obscene and absurd ways. No, guys, he wasn't a misunderstood person. He was more of a puppet icon character, one of the original buffers for the actual Nazis. Okay. And by the way, I don't say that all Oddfellows and Rebeccas are doing this, just so you know. I'm telling you that the group that are close to my family on my mother's side, all right, they're all Oddfellows and Rebeccas. They also deny having these larger Nazi connections, even though they were surrounded by them out in Tule Lake, California and Merrill, Oregon. Now I've got a whole bunch of relatives buried in Merrill, Oregon that I know where all this happened. And I went out there and I actually looked where the concentration was called a segregation facility. It's called the Tule Lake Segregation Facility. You can look it up. And that's where they brought in about 1,000 Nazis in 1945. Not coincidence that that was the same time that old mommy was coming into the world. So sorry guys to be whatever, but I'm really I'm pissed off because right now, guys, like I don't really have a family, you know, and the ones that were raised as my DNA relatives have all basically, for the most part, turned their back on me. And the woman that really is close to a lot of this is just sitting around there going like, "Who, me? I have no idea what that is." She knows everything about this. She knows about water frequency. She knows about Emoto. She knows about how you can program water. She's been surrounded by people her whole life that worked on hydroelectric dam projects and knew everything about water frequency. Interesting, guys. Right now, I'm getting like my walls pounded on and all kinds of crazy shit going on. Strange, right? Interesting. Anyways, the technology is renaissance at the beginning of the last century was associated with the coming of power of the Nazis. So, guys, just that's probably some play on words there. Coming to power of the Nazis, because really, guys, they control the Department of Energy in America. And through the Department of Energy in America, they make you believe it's because military, because government, because of all these different, law enforcement, whatever. No, guys, you just having your strings pulled by the Department of Energy populated Nazi party. That's where they went and hid. National laboratories like Brookhaven out east, ones at Hanford Reservation in Washington State. You got places like Oak Ridge, Tennessee, has a bunch of them. And these are all places that are major hubs of Nazism in tandem with cybersecurity and nuclear materials. And so it's fear of a nuclear disaster and the cybersecurity relationships that exist for maintaining the safety of our nuclear facilities has always been their fear button. They love having that fear button. Ooh, you're going to get blown up by a nuclear weapon. Ooh, you got to trust the Nazis to watch it for you. You see how they do you? Do you see how they do you? America, do you see? Can you see it? This is how they're doing all of us. Now, oh, by the way, do has a double meaning. This is how they're DEWing. You can't get the plasma out of the people without DEWs, directed energy, weapons. Okay? Ultra high frequency in many cases. Hence, MK Ultra. This is why, guys, no matter how many articles are out there, they almost always avoid frequency things when they discuss MK Ultra. They claim they did all their research. Oh, aren't they brilliant? They did a whole hour and a half long, 2 hour thing on MK Ultra and never once mentioned ultra high frequency, which is pretty much everything to making it work. Strange how that happens. These vibrations were controlled by a special group of people, the priests of the cult, directing energy in a certain direction. Directing energy in a certain direction? Well, that's directed energy weapons. Manipulating mass and individual consciousness to achieve the main goal, gaining power over the world. The battlefield shifted from the physical to the energetic plane. The advantage of such warfare is that people do not understand what is happening to them, becoming a steerable component within the global process. Gradually, white became black and black became white for them. There was a substitution of fundamental concepts and values. The place in Egypt where the negative energies of fear were actively used is Abu Ghurab, the temple of the sun god Ra. The ritual sacrifices carried out in the temple are a vivid example of the substitution of concepts where Ra was morphed by the priests from the creator of the universe and all living beings into a god whom could be reached only with the help of energy released by a human being just prior to and at the time of his or her death. And hey, fam, before you go around calling me the bad guy, just remember that one of yours is having their energy just sucked aggressively and has become half of their original self because you tolerate this person. And you also have turned your back on the one man that could have saved him and actively tried. But you know what? He probably knows in his heart of hearts that he did something down the line where maybe he deserves it. That's my guess. He used to say that to me. That's probably why he didn't want to accept the help. In order to achieve maximum effect in the construction phase of the temple of the manufacturer of the altar and the bowls of the sacrificial blood, a special mineral, alabaster, was used, capable of accumulating and amplifying the energy impulse. Why those things aren't showing up here on, I'm not sure why, but yeah, none of these things are showing up. At a certain point in time, the accumulated energy was directed upward through a steel vertical waveguide in order to break through the energy membrane separating the first and second astral energy shells of the Earth. As a result, entities of the astral world, the energy plane of Seth, came to contact with the priests to communicate with whom, since ancient times, in instruction texts left by the Shemzu Hiru, followers of Horus, devoted to the growth of wisdom, have explicitly warned about. But for the sake of power, the priests made a deal with the entity Seth, Satana, for the realization of personal interests. In this regard, an important warning ought to be made. All those visiting Abu Ghurab are advised to not stay at the temple for more than 10 to 15 minutes. By no means meditate here. To stay there longer, the more so when meditating, your energy system will inevitably become contaminated with negative vibrations in the form of energy imprints of the sacrifices left in the energy field of this place. The same awaits you when visiting the Maya and Aztec pyramids. So, guys, these aren't like uh, these aren't just things that you want to do like casually as a vacation. Like, cool, I'm going to go see a pyramid. Know what you're dealing with. Know how it can affect you. Understand the technology. Take it seriously. It's not just a historical site. These things are energy machines. Some are functional and some are broken. The ones that are sometimes non functional and broken, even if they had healing properties originally, no longer do and can actually do the opposite of what they're designed. They can actually trap energy inside your physical body. They can actually contaminate you, cause you cancer, cause you all sorts of ailments. All right. As a result of the contamination with negative energies, a chain of interdependent processes is launched, leading to grave consequences in the spiritual and ethical sphere of the person. It is possible to correct a process that has started, albeit very difficult. Within a short time after contamination, depending on the circumstances, negative events will start occurring in the life of that person. This can affect personal life, relationships, business, perception of the world and people, personal health, as well as the health and welfare of loved ones. Unfortunately, a contamination can negatively affect not only the events of this, but also of the next life. So, folks, your ascension is very important to me. I want to see as many people out there make it. I want to see as many people get out of these energy traps as possible. Whenever you hear me talk about an exodus from MK Ultra, this is what I'm talking about. Exodus MK Ultra, this is everything. I want to see you survive. I want to see you thriving. But you know something? When this is happening to you, this is exactly what it does right here. It affects your personal life, relationships, business, perception of the world and people, as well as the health and welfare of loved ones. Folks, this is the ultimate weapon. They can attack one person and hit the nodes in their family very methodically. It is genocide. It is eugenic, soft kill genocide of opposing bloodlines that they wish to dominate and control. And those of you out there that are consciously doing it, it's about time you start to give up because more and more people are taking me seriously, and your methods are very trackable and traceable. So I'm never going to do anything to people to physically harm them. That I can tell you. I don't do that. But I make sure everybody understands exactly how this works, where it leads back to, and I let them perform their own investigations. And I'm also happy to do it. I have my own ways of measuring energy, I have my own devices for measuring these things, and I will accomplish that. I found these systems in multiple locations and they all have definite things that go on nearly everywhere in all of them. And the problem, guys, is ladies and gentlemen, is their energy sources are some of the nicest, most decent and holy minded people, very top notch, good quality, decent people. And please, I beg you, if you have low self-esteem or there's something about you that's like a little bit forgiving more than the average person, I want you to look at this. It'll affect not only your perception of the world and people, but the health and welfare of your loved ones. I have seen this exact kind of energy attack occur, and it was designed, if you ask me, to attack a person's entire bloodline using one of them as the main node, and then getting them psychoenergetically worked up, which winds up contaminating the biofield of their relatives, sometimes at their most vulnerable. So, again, one more shot over the bow to the person that's done that lately, whether you are conscious of it or not. You need to understand, I'm not going to reveal you or anything else like that, but I want you to know I figured out the game. I bared witness. So now's the time for you to give up. All due respect, give up. Because I know the longer you're away from your energy source, the more you're going to fold. And so, to the person that became the energy source, you need to fight. You need to make sure you don't ever get back in that loop again because your family literally is depending on you to not have this happen to them too. It will link to them. It's how it works. And I didn't make that up. I'm not the person that invented that. Please don't shoot the messenger. I don't think you will. But understand it, please. This is serious. This isn't just an idea. This is the knowledge of the ancients. Unfortunately, A contamination can negatively affect not only the events of this, but also of the next life. Yes, your ascension is at risk if you allow it. Please do not allow it. The person will encounter a large number of inexplicable difficulties without understanding the causes hereof. Although all that is happening is a consequence of the contamination, the effect of the workings of the law of karma, and the changes in the energy system and the psycho-emotional sphere. Therefore, it is important to determine a source of energy contamination in time so as not to enter into resonance with its vibrations. So once you figure it out, remove yourself. Those who have and done, keep on your path. Go, go, go. Please go. You're doing amazing. And I'm telling you something, I've been on this journey with some people, especially lately. And once you remove yourself from the negative energy and you've learned the game and they do it to you one last time in a way that really F's with you, like they did me. I witnessed one recently where it was this energy attack was like you would not believe. Everything that could happen to a person that's negative and chipped away at their self-esteem, their sense of stability, their ability just to rest, their ability to have their loved ones rest. It was a full-on attack from every direction. It was absolutely insidious, disgusting. And it could only be something that would be, look, I don't, all right. I don't want to get into the negative anger part of it. Let me tell you what was on the other side of it. Once everybody had, I wouldn't say necessarily recovered, but was on their way to figuring it out and had mostly recovered from it. This is the brilliant thing that happened. We were sitting there, and God, I wish I could tell you like every detail of it, but I can't, and I won't. I'll just tell you my part of it really quick because this won't reveal anything. So I had this whole magical experience at the Edgar Casey Center where I literally thought of something and I would find it immediately. If I thought of a Charles Fort as the author, I'd find the Charles Fort book. I thought of Malachi Martin, like, I wonder if they have Malachi Martin books in here. And all I did was go around the corner and it's like my hand just went right to it and I pulled it right out. And this happened at the Edgar Casey ARE. It was a very magical, brilliant, spiritual experience. I loved being there. It was probably one of the best things that ever happened to me. And thank you to the person that showed it to me. And seriously, this is how I know. Like, the more I learn about this, the more I realize that they go after some of the ones that start off with the purest hearts, and they'll attack and chip away at you until you just give in. And please don't give in. Please don't get into the loop. Sorry, guys. It was a beautiful experience, though. So we just experienced like tons of synchronicities. Things were just lining up, like to where it was like a breadcrumb trail of spiritual clues that wasn't Luciferian. It was very godly. It felt very spiritual. And then right as it all came to like whatever, we're like looking at each other like, wow, like everything before that couldn't stop going wrong. Suddenly, right now, we're getting the inverse. Things can only go right. They're like everybody's being nice. People were being nice to both of us. Things were working out brilliantly. And I really do think it's because once we figured out like what was going on and extracted ourselves from the area and then just got on the path to like just like, okay, let's get some stability here. Let's get happy. Let's make sure that we just take care of ourselves and not stay stuck in this situation. And we were just thinking positively, going from spot to spot. And no matter what happened and how negative it got, we just stayed in a good frame of mind. And we finally arrived at this one spot. And I was thinking of the whole Edgar Casey thing. Even it was weird. And I looked up and I just noticed that the truck handle said ARE on it, and that's what they call Edgar Casey Center, ARE. And so it was that really brilliant moment. There was so many other things that happened simultaneously, but then I learned that like that's it. That was my clue. That was my sign that we're on our way to something way better. And again, ever since then, we had nice positive conversations. Both felt like things were going to really work out in the world. And it's when we realize that this whole method that these people with these energy accumulators have been using for all these years, this method the Nazis and all of them have done here, you eventually reach a point where if you build a dam, but the water keeps flowing towards it and never slows down, that the dam's not going to be able to handle it anymore. And that's kind of what was starting to happen. Like they had dammed up all of our orgone, all of our positive experience, and eventually they just couldn't hold it anymore. They got greedy. And now we're actually starting to have some good and decent things happen. Both of us individually, it's amazing. And people were just nice and polite. And so right now, I'm just trying not to get back into any of those negativity loops. I'm trying to put myself in situations where I can make sure that whatever I'm doing is a life affirming, and that we're working on getting people out of these type of environments. I don't like being them either, guys. Like when you're in one of these environments, it'll bring out all your worst characteristics. You just can't stay positive. It puts you in the negativity loops. So you got to stay out of them. And sometimes they are anchored to physical locations that are in suburbs, not just like pyramids, guys. They put these things in suburbs. So it's just something to consider. And knowing like who's a conscious participant and actually knows that the equipment's installed versus the people that are just caught up in the negativity, that can be a real challenge. But that's life. That's one of those things that we just got to figure out step by step, person by person, case by case. But sometimes there's times where I don't have a question like how it started and where it originates. Put it that way, especially when it comes to certain family members. All right, so it is noteworthy that those at risk are mostly the ones who are on a spiritual quest. As a rule, these are open-minded, enthusiastic people seeking knowledge and truth. It is amazing how deeply this proceeding has penetrated and embedded itself into our lives. Influencing people's minds with the help of negative energies is used in literature, starting with scary stories for children up to extensive literary works, drawing the reader into the plot, tuning them to a specific wavelength. So remember some of that, the television cycle, right? Books, authors that are really into these things, the energy accumulation, they tend to do things more occulted that are designed to pull more of this energy out of you if they're participating. Nowadays, acts of sacrifice have moved into the media space. To attract a wide audience, television and the internet are used. That's like negativity loops like Twitter. That's when you get on Facebook and start thinking negatively or getting negative messaging. This is the new soft sacrifice. It is the new form of plasma extraction. Because in one form or another, every person has a TV screen at hand. People are not even asked if they want to participate in these acts or not. The audience is being involved by special TV projects, the plot of which is built on outright fraud, lies, and provocations. All ethical norms are violated. People generally do not know and do not even suspect that their time, their emotions would be used in the act of outright fraud. In fact, such a provocation is not just an attempt to defame a person, everything is much more serious. The mechanism of energy processes in a person works as follows. As soon as a person experiences a strong negative emotion, his internal energy source begins to radiate energy in the range of negative vibrations. Negative energy, vibrations, has a specific quality which makes everything inside start to vibrate in an unwholesome way. Appearance of negative vibration and internal excitement signals that the person who experiences this vibration has got synchronized with become the carrier of this type of energy. Otherwise, his inner world would not have moved. If he stirred, then the forgery worked. The nervous system began to vibrate, radiating negative energy into the surrounding space, affecting all people around, and all this work with for a certain length of time. The longer a person will be in this state, the more this energy will capture his or her essence, rebuilding his or her perception and inner world. Such a person can be easily manipulated. This is how negative energies work. So this is, folks, where I think that this is where I think a little bit of good old fashioned forgiveness. Um, One of my favorite films is Magnolia because it discusses the theme of forgiveness. Um, because sometimes people, they don't even understand what's going on, and others are very conscious manipulators. Um, so it's hard to know when somebody's a planner or somebody's been just sort of swept into a larger system and they've been placed into a negative energy loop with nobody to help guide them out. So my hope is that this material does help people get guided out of those negative energy loops and then helps them move on to becoming a better person internally. Some of you were already great people. There was nothing wrong with you. You just became susceptible to the negative energies, being placed into psychoenergetic loops with negative people in tandem with the energies that surrounded it. And so I've just learned to sort of like not completely write people off as being like evil or anything else like that, or even as like really ugly or depressing negative people. That's all judgment. See, it becomes easier to be a spiritual person when you begin to get this more over time. I've grown leaps and bounds, even in just a couple months, based on the experiences that I've had dealing with stress and stressful situations, intensely stressful situations that are for this exact kind of energy accumulation, and managing my way out of them, working my way out of them. It was extremely challenging, but once you learn the game, it becomes way easier. And I'm telling you guys, even if it's all it is something that you're focusing on, and the earth materials that are in like a simple quartz crystals don't do a single thing in the world for you, it still is a good thing to have them. All right. This is how Lucifer was working, gradually rebuilding the consciousness and perception of people, replacing white with black, truth with falsehood. The slogan, "The end justifies the means," was not invented by the communists. It is the principle of Lucifer. According to the plan, people who saw the video must. Oh, wait, hang on. Sorry. This part is more about an article that I didn't show you, but we can leave it at what I just said there as far as that part there, right? Is hang on. Yeah, because the rest of this is more about the wands of Horus. It doesn't really address the topic at hand. All right. I think that's most of the article. All right, positive and negative experience gained during the construction of the experimental pyramid. So, folks, there's a link to this article in the description section, and I'll remind you these are all everything I just read for you was from the researcher Valery Uvarov's websites and books, and the links are there for them. This is a really I don't know. I've always got a very good intuition about this person since I saw him on the Basis Project years ago. I was bases number 57 and Uvarov was bases number 56. So I always thought that was kind of funny that we were like right next to each other in the order of the basis project numbers, and both got interviewed by the same guy. I don't think that was a synchronicity that I should ignore. And all of the things that I've done in reading the chapters of his books and going through them with a fine tooth comb, and as well as everything else, the best thing I can tell you is that it is my full intention to make sure that everybody connected to these great works and who support that team, I will do everything I can. I promise you, I will do everything I can to make everything right and make sure that this material gets the attention it deserves, and that the people that have been supporting these types of efforts, if I'm ever allowed access to resources that can help you or to get you in a better place, I will do it, because to me this work is priceless, and the people who protect it, defend it, and support it are also equally so. There's no way of placing any particular value on you. You're that good, you're that decent, and I want you to all know that. It takes a uniquely decent and kind person and groups of people to support this, to make works like this. And you deserve all of the rewards and kudos that you have coming to you. And I mean that sincerely. I really do hope and I do believe that the time will come when I'm in the place that I'll be able to do that. I have a very strong sense it's going to happen. I just don't know when. But something tells me that this ascension that we're in the process of going through right now is happening very recently, and it's actually we're at the peak of it. We're at the moment where everything's turning, where all the methods of the mechanics of negative energy that was used to delay karma for some people, that's all going away. They can no longer transfer karma through energy manipulation, energy accumulation, the way that they did before. How did that happen? It happens because those of us who are super delegates, if we are, the ones that actually influence the biofields larger than average. Some people have it in their DNA. You can just think something and know something, and that transfers over to a much larger cross section of the population. I would argue that if I don't have that in me, I'm achieving it just by having a channel that can talk to the people who are the actual super delegates. Whether or not I am one is something that I don't have an answer for, but I do think that they're out there. All right. And hang on here, because I want to do some other quick articles on this exact topic before we get into positive and negative experience gained during the construction of a pyramid. To do that, I'm going to need to hang on here. Let's see. I'm going to put up this thing that I did recently, guys, for you to watch. So this person whose material I just read, these are pyramids and synchronicities created through his pyramidal structures. This is Uvarov's work. Oh, wait, what's going on here? Hang on, folks. Something's going on here. I'll be right back. Sorry about this. I'm not sure why I'm getting this message, so let me figure this out. Sorry, folks. I don't know what's going on with my feed right now. I'm showing that I'm on the internet, but for some reason I can't do anything on the internet. Doesn't make a lot of sense. But see, I can see that I'm streaming right now, but I can't connect anything. It's a little bit weird. I'm not offline, you guys. I don't know what's going on here. Yeah, I know you can still see me, but this is just very strange because I should be able to be seen, without having any issues right now. Hang on. I think there's another way I can do this. So give me a second here. All right. I got another way to do this. Yeah, so there's shenanigans going on with my internet connection, not even allowing me to connect to these websites, but I'm still on the stream. I can actually see myself playing right now. So I know this is like a completely nonsensical thing going on with the internet right now. It doesn't even make sense, but I'm going to keep going.
we haven't heard about this, why it's concealed in our mainstream. Welcome. I just wanted to show you something really quick. This is in Tomsk, Russia.
There we go.
And it's a pyramid complex that researcher Valery Uvarov and another group, or another group of researchers, have developed this pyramid complex.
What in the hell?
And here's the GPS coordinates down here if you're curious to find it on your own. And do
All right, folks, something's up right now. Hang on. Because I should be able to do all this, and it's very strange that like half the internet just suddenly doesn't work, but my stream does. Like that doesn't even make any sense. Yeah, it's not letting me do any screen sharing. I'm going to be right back. All right. So, guys, I'm going to disappear. And if for some strange reason I can't get back on, I'm just going to do a part 2. But I'm probably going to go away just for a second. Then I'll be right back. Hey, all right, we got it. You guys, this is all nonsense. Okay, so let's not get too caught up in the negative energy loop. But let me tell you something. This is bullshit. I literally just had my stream completely taken down by some like non-issue that was just manufactured to prevent this from happening. But luckily, I'm very good at getting around technical problems. So hey everybody, give me a thumbs up if you see me again. I should be live streaming still. Sorry, but the screen went black there for a bit. But yeah, all my entire internet connection here got jacked up, so I had to do a totally different source of my internet. So we're just gonna roll through it here. Thank you for your patience. So let me share something with you while I get all my other screens going again. All right, here we go. Man, you know, that's not the only time that I presented this exact type of material where they just went through aggressive lengths to shut down my stream and get everybody to drop offline. Those of you who stuck around, thank you very much. I'm going to make sure it's worth your time. We're going to get really deep into this. Going to keep on keeping on. Thank you for sticking around. Be right back. This is the article.
Welcome. I just wanted to show you something really quick. This is in Tomsk, Russia, and it's a pyramid complex that researcher Valery Uvarov and another group of researchers have developed this pyramid complex. And here's the GPS coordinates down here if you're curious to find it on your own and do your own evaluations. But I want you to see what I see so you can kind of understand how this works and why I find this to be such an impressive piece of work. And I do believe that this is yet another sign of these ancient energy grids and alignments that can in fact be used in modern times. What do I mean by that? I've found a whole series of places around the world that have 33.33 degree alignments, which is to say that when you place a center point here and then you aim a line out like this one is doing, that line aims 33.33 degrees. Before I do that, though, let's look at what's going on here just a little bit closer. You can zoom in and you'll observe there's one pyramid. Then there's another series of 4 pyramids. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Zoom out. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then when they're all assembled, you take a couple of these out. You can see the dimension. You can see that it's another pyramid within the series of pyramids. So again, you have 17 total pyramids right now. The plan, according to Uvarov, is to build 33 pyramids. That's not a coincidence. Why do I say that? To me, this should tell you everything about the miracle that we exist in. This is just, to me, pure genius, everything that's going on out here. And why we haven't heard about this, why it's concealed in our mainstream media, why nobody discusses the legitimacy of building these modern pyramids that do.
Well, probably the same reason why the powers that be just tried to shut down using a little signal jammer right outside and failed miserably, signal jammer. Boo-hoo, signal jammer, boo-hoo. Oh, yo, it didn't work. Sorry, guys. I had to troll them a little bit. It kind of feels good when we can recover from something like that without getting too whatever.
And are connecting to the ancient energy grid. There's naturally formed pyramids that exist all across the world. I won't get into that in this presentation. I just want to give you a quick basics of what happens when you deal with this 33 degree alignment that pre-exists all of these esoteric societies you talk about that the numbers typically attributed to. Once you understand that it's not just a number or a level or something that you heard about Freemasons, that it's way deeper than that, you can begin to unpackage what they're doing here. Now let's just zoom in a little bit. This is amazing. Wait till you see this. Zoom in a little bit here to the center of the pyramid. You place your 33 degree line. And again, the opposing line, 33 degrees this way, 180 opposite forms a 213 degree line that way. Now watch where the line follows at 33 degrees. It goes right to the Diomede Islands. Let me zoom out. Look at that. So originating in Russia, in Tomsk, in the center point, it goes straight to the middle of Diomede Islands. Do you know what Diomede Islands are, or have you heard of it? Until I started doing more map research, I really don't remember ever reading about this, but you probably recall that there's the Bering Strait that separates the United States from Russia. And you'll notice that this is Alaska on the right, this is Russia on the left, and this line originating from Tomsk, Russia, goes straight right between the border of the United States and Russia. This isn't the only place you'll find something this miraculous with the 33.33 degree line. Here's what I'd like you to do. Take everything you saw in my presentation here. You just do this. You take your tool like that. You draw a center point like this. And then again, you can just start doing your alignments. See how the degrees right there. And then you just keep following it and following it. Do the same thing in Washington, D.C. at the Washington Monument, the huge obelisk. And you're going to learn what I learned many years ago when I was first doing this map research. There is another 33-degree alignment. To me, this one is, and find out where that goes on your own. Again, it's very relevant. My point is, this is a miracle when you really get it. Where these alignments don't happen in a vacuum. That back here all the way in Tomsk, Russia, where they built this pyramid, it aims at 33.33 degrees to Diomede Islands, which is what? The Diomede Islands are known in Russia as the I can't say that, Gvozdzev Islands, consisting of two rocky mesa-like islands. The Russian island of Big Diomede, the U.S. island of Little Diomede. So that's right there, folks. It's right through the center of the two islands. If you get it, great. If you don't, I have faith that you're going to get there. But to me, this says everything about our interconnectedness, what is going on right now in the world. And if you understand what I understand about the people that are behind the building of these pyramids, you'll understand that something beautiful and miraculous will happen, that in the midst of all what appears to be chaos right now, there is actually something beautiful that will wind up happening as a result of these events. And I can show you alignment after alignment. And sometime I'll probably go deeper into this. If you've seen my material earlier, you know I've already done that. But I wanted to put this out there just as a quick reminder of how this all works. It's pretty incredible. Properly built pyramids. This is how they function. They are like inverted omnidirectional antennas that, in a way, function on a similar principle, focusing energy up. And there's an inverse of that it reaches. And now you're dealing with something that's more multidimensional. And when we speak of their concepts of like a higher self, or there being an inverse of you, it is on the other side of what is revealed through this etheric plane or this non-physical layer that turns into a physical layer. I would argue that what you have here, when you assemble all of these pyramids, is you have them as physical structures, and then the non-physical structures has a whole different set of energies. This 33.33 degree line is like a man-made ley line. And things will occur on this line. And my personal belief, and I have faith in this completely, is that because of the benevolence of the creators of this, that what we're going to wind up doing is finding ourselves in a greater state of peace, a greater state of awareness, a greater state of awakening, that more people will just simply get it simultaneously. That this is in actually in accordance with aligning and balancing energies. Balancing everything. It's about balance. And I understand that a lot of times these concepts are discussed, people can't really apply tangible data to it. Well, this is something that you can. You can go out there and measure this. Well, unfortunately, because of the state of the world right now, that would be a challenge. But what I'm suggesting to you is that you can and do measure the energy signatures of these pyramid structures. There is a white quartz crystal in the center of this, a massive crystal. I don't exactly know the height of it. I could get the dimensions of it, but it would be on the level of something that you would have to extract from a large cave and haul in on a truck. And it's embedded in the center of this. And if you understand the power of crystals, you'll know what this is really doing. With earth materials, the ionospheric cavity, the 7.83 hertz Schumann resonance of earth brainwave relative to the alpha state of human brainwave, which resonates nearly at the same frequency. Proof once again that everything that we exist in is a projection. It is an experience that we're sharing. Thank you.
So what do you think? Our little attempt to shadow ban the rest of my presentation aside, if there's Nazis in your neighborhood, who are you going to call? Shadow ban and busters. Oh yeah, they don't want this, guys. I feel really good about this one tonight. To be honest with you, I'm not going to get too much into the sort of and take that and take that and take that. But the attempt to take down my stream while I was proving that shadow banning exists is pretty funny. My guess is that this article hasn't got distributed the way it should have, and that little thing that happened earlier that wasn't letting me connect to anything, including material on my own laptop that doesn't even require an internet connection to stream towards you, who I was already streaming with. How in the hell is that even possible without there being a pretty sophisticated cyber hack, probably from a lab like, I don't know, something similar to SAIC or Leidos? Who's hiding those secrets, you guys? Who's hiding those secrets? You want to know what our problem is in this country, you guys? You want to know who has all this technology doing the negative things about it? Have I ever shown this to you? I'm sure I've shown this to you. Guys, this is the kind of thing you cannot make up. The reason why everything is effed as it is right now is because, well, this company right here is about as corrupt and effed as you can possibly get. And they control tons of our infrastructure, telecom. And well, if you don't know what side they're on by now, I don't know what I can do to help you. But this is like every time you see people like Elon Musk, it comes from this system of fakery, SAIC, Leidos. It's their fakery because they're the people who have bowling-sized balls enough to pretend that they have a CEO named Nazi King. Just like Elon Musk isn't a real name. He was great as Justin Maynard in The Island, directed by Michael Ritchie in 1980, though. But I guess being a child actor wasn't in the cards for the guy that became Elon Musk. So eventually he became Elon Musk. That's why when he does things like says, "Love me tender" in a profile, he's telling you what he is. He is the love family. This is how they've stolen from everybody. They are actors, and that's the company that supports it. It went from being more of a deep, intelligence agency, COINTELPRO method to being corporatized into companies like SAIC and Leidos, who now manage telecom infrastructure, wireless, communication grid, all the phone number warehousing, all the IP addresses and domain names. At one point in the 90s, during the Stargate research program, old SAIC, which remember, guys, they love mirrors. So what does SAIC mean? Say it backwards with me. SAIC, CIAs, the CIAs, the Ozkin. All right, guys, we're going to go off that topic because they deserve to have a little bit of energy going from them. So enjoy it, but don't consume it because this is some toxic energy that these people have. You don't want that energy. But let it go back into the soil where it belongs because these people are straight up corrupt and evil. How the hell they get away with this, you guys? When is the world going to wake up? World, hello. Hey, all you real men out there, you're trying to find who's doing all this? Ladies, you're included too, obviously, in the fight. I'm just like, I'm so pissed off right now at some of these things, guys, where some of these people that should be just braver and more courageous are all just like, well, I don't know. I can't do that. Pussies. There's too many pussies out there. Sorry, guys. There's too many pussies. Just wake up to what's going on. People need your help. Figure it out. All right, let's get back to this because I don't want to get deep into the negative energy cycle. Sorry, guys, because that's what'll happen. I'll start going into it. It's very effective, guys. After shutting off my internet thing, then suddenly the whole room starts to vibrate and they start doing their little tricks. So, hey, found out. All right. And by the way, never do that to me if you're a smart, intelligent person and you don't want to get revealed because I make sure that intelligent people follow me all the right places, all the right time. And when you little occulted shenanigan players out there like to work your little angles, just remember, I know everything about how you work now, and I can reveal you and expose you left and right. And it's fully my intention to. I go everywhere with a pure heart and pure intention that, we all have a little bit of warrior in us that are whatever, that are wired to do this. And there's a reason why we're persistent and don't give up. It's because I knew eventually I would get to the place where I could find all of y'all and hold you to the flame, hold you to the carpet, put you in the place where you put everybody else. See, you need to experience your own pit for a little while because that's just the karma cycle. And I say that not out of vengeance. I say to those people that have been doing this, have been sapping the energy, especially men. Look, guys, nobody should be doing this to anybody. All right. Number one. And mind you, we are living in a highly occulted society where a lot of the ladies do this to the men. I know because it's happened in a situation close to me. Literally, I have a relative that had their entire spirit like soul jacked from them, became a completely different person, and is now one of these spineless pussies. And that wasn't the way they started. And they did that because they trusted the wrong person and stayed in the wrong environment for the wrong amount of time. And now they're bitter, angry. They have a fraction of their original personality, and they developed aggressive cancer. And that can happen nodally too. So remember that. Like, if you care for your family, don't let yourself go into negative energy loops, please. Don't let people get you in them because it is the survival of your bloodline. And if you think you're a good hearted person that can help others change for the better, then don't put that part of yourself at risk. Make sure that you're always thriving, always. I don't care I mean, look, I don't have to be the benefactor of everything. I want you all to know, like, I want you all to be your purest, happiest selves as often as possible. And please find that in your daily lives because these systems are aggressive. And if you're experiencing things, I'm so sorry that's happening to you, and I hope that it ends. But I can also tell you that if we can get the right group of people together, and I can get the right kind of support that I need, not only will I be finding these systems left and right, proving they exist and helping people get away from them, that I'll make sure that we're delivered to a place where, when I say delivered, I just mean to say that we're delivered out of the misery and put into a place where we're actually building things, doing good, decent things, honorable things, helping amplify the positive orgone energy grid, going to places that are healing centers and amplifying their energy through us and from us. We can benefit from them, and we can also provide energy to them. That is the human experience. If you don't believe that, then I would say you don't even believe like 90% of my research, and that's okay. You don't have to. But I'm telling you that it is human brainwave that is Earth brainwave. If human brainwave didn't match Earth brainwave, the Earth would not exist. It is a construct of us and the Creator together. God made us in the image of Himself, but Himself is us and the Earth, both in tandem. That's why the Holy Trinity is such a, once you get it, then it all makes sense. The Father, the Son, the Holy Spirit, it makes way more sense when you get this type of energetic science. And you can actually become a believer. Something that I was always agnostic or atheist most of my life. Never atheist really, but more agnostic. But once I discovered this information, I'm a believer, and there's definitely God. There's definitely a creator. And there's an inverse of the creator who's a destroyer. So remember that, and the tools that are used are very similar. Okay, hang on, folks. So all right, let's get that evil Nazi. Hey, I don't know. Maybe that's a nice person, and they just have an unfortunate name. All right. Positive and negative experience gained during the construction of the experimental pyramid. Those of you who have written me emails asking about this exact topic, I would suggest you go through this material on your own. This will be a good education for you because this is architecture, this is blueprints, this is helping you understand it at this level. Again, you would probably need help from a person like Uvarov, who would probably be a better person to pay for consulting through or something like that. I am not an experienced pyramid builder, but I can tell you that I kind of have a good idea when somebody's done it right because the proof is in the pudding. It'll happen in the aether. You'll actually see the evidence of it, all the time. You'll find these 33-degree alignments and things like that, is what I'm saying. So this section presents the quintessence of the experience gained during the entire construction period and contains important information for those who consider building their own pyramid, a pyramid for public use as well as for business purposes. Taking into account all experience described in this section will avoid mistakes and allow you to build a fully functional pyramid. So again, guys, I'm just going to give you a quick overview of it. We don't have to read every section of it, but you can see how he develops pyramidal structures using the dimensions of a person in relation. So the ratio of the person's body and the chakra points in the person's body having an alignment to the specific dimensions of the pyramid. The construction of the experimental pyramid near Priozersk was, sorry, I'm saying that wrong, was conceived as a step that would allow and reveal the practical stages of design and building of an architect of a structure which had never been built on Earth. The design of the experimental pyramid included architectural elements as well as energy systems that had not been previously used in the construction of known ancient edifices. In essence, an ambitious project was planned to make use of the experience of the ancients, but to go further than our predecessors did. In order to hear the pyramid, establish contact with it, and feel its vibration into its parameters, were embodied the biometric data of a particular person, those of Valery Uvarov. That's the person that wrote the article. Okay. And the last one, this is the person. So they know a lot about this topic. And so what I just showed you in the last article, my research, that would not exist without Uvarov because he built the pyramid that lines up at Little Diomede and Big Diomede Island. And if you don't think that that's like in and of itself, whether that was intentional or not, that wasn't like a miracle of balance, man, to me, that says that what happened there, that was actually a very benevolent, positive karma event. And the reason why I'm receiving it is because I tune so much into the vibration of the 33.33 degree lines. I've found these alignments all over the place, and that helps me understand what its intention is. And the best thing I can tell you is if somebody's creating a positive orgone radiation spectrum, which is life, creation, balance, love, all the best aspects of life, all of us prospering, all of us feeling better, there being a greater sense of healing, a greater sense of wellness, what you're going to find is that his pyramid, like his internal being, the kind of person that Uvarov is, which I believe to be a very good person. I have very good intuition. And all I can tell you is every interview, Every presentation this guy's done has impressed me to no end. It is brilliant, and he and his work deserves a lot of support. And it was my hope at some point that I would be able to work on some degree of a project or something like that, or at least have my knowledge set and my ability to fund, as well as have the knowledge set behind it to where I could do something that would actually, have them involved on some level, the same team, if it's at all possible. I would really like to do that, because what I think he's actually doing is it's because he's such a decent, kind person. I do believe that having a pyramidal structure that has an alignment to him specifically, I think he would seek balance. I think he would seek fairness. And as a result, I think that his alignment with the pyramid creates this 33-degree alignment that goes between Little Diomede and Big Diomede Island, which is a balancing mechanism. And if you understand what I'm telling you, that means that this imbalance of power, the imbalance of influence, the imbalance of whatever gets corrected. It's not anything that's negative. This is actually a very positive event. That what you have is a balance that exists between these separate lands at a very precise angle. And I think we're going to have greater harmony in the world as a result of it. But guys, it's always darkest before the dawn. So have you observed that lately some of the things we're seeing in some of these regions, you'd almost be like, Gabe, are you sure? Yes, because I've seen it in my own life. Guys, if you had any idea what I've been through the last however many months, I don't get into it because it's mostly private or involves other people that I care about. Good, I mean, that I had both negative and positive experiences about, because what this has taught me, it's opened my heart to a greater sense of forgiveness. I can't be the same kind of person that I was before. I'm I understand energy better. I understand how what the way it affects people negatively. But there's people that have direct intention, and there's people that are just caught in a loop of it. That's where it's challenging to understand. So, and folks, if there's anybody in the chat, you may want to test it out, because I haven't seen any comments come through in quite some time, and I'm a little bit concerned that that was one of the things that got taken down when I was trying to start the streams back up. So if somebody could give a thumbs up, that's great. It may have disappeared from my thing here. I don't know. Or just something to say like, "Hey, I see you still," or whatever. But I can see myself on the screen. I just don't know if the chat's working. So if you do have questions, feel free to put them in there, and I'm going to keep reading this article. The design of the experimental pyramid included architectural elements as well as energy systems that had not been previously used in the construction of. All right, we already read that. What I was interested in was to establish the effect of how will a pyramid, of how. Sorry, hang on. Oh, great. Thank you, everybody. Appreciate you. Awesome. All right. What I was interested in was to establish the effect of how well a pyramid would react if the physical and energy structure was not built on an abstract set of proportions based on the principles of the golden section, but rather on a narrow spectrum of values that is reflected in a certain way in the physical and energy structure of a person, which are components of what determines the person's personality, his individual biological frequency. This way of tuning allows to connect the human being with source, which has been called the creator from time immemorial, and of which the human being is a part through the energy shells that every human being has, but which people are not informed about. The experience gained allowed us to understand the principles and mechanisms of pyramids, how to tune a pyramid to perform specific tasks, and how to form a canon for the modern age, a set of key principles based on which planning and construction has to be carried out. As a result, the experiment made it possible to understand the meaning of certain architectural ambitions of the ancient pyramid builders, as well as to embark on a most ambitious project starting in 2011, the planning and construction in Russia of the world's first complex of 13 pyramids. By the way, guys, just for the record, in my article that I just showed you, this is it. That's the one that you see that Google Earth footage of. That's just the blueprint of it or whatever from the sky. And I misquoted the number of pyramids. It's 13 pyramids. Why I had that number, the other number in my head, guys, I promise you it wasn't some code or crap like that connected to that thing. It's just for some strange reason, I think I overcounted four. I can't remember why I did that. But anyways, that wasn't it. Although I'm sure it encouraged those theories amongst certain populations. So, all right. Most researchers focus their attention on the math, astronomical, and philosophical principles embodied in the proportions of the ancient pyramids. Having described these principles in my book and starting the construction of the experimental pyramid, I came to the conclusion that the most important yet completely absent in consideration is the organizing construction works, the quality and time spent upon which the final result depends. All right, hidden risks. I have to skip around here because I'm not going to stay on much longer. And I want you to see something here. I'm going to read this part first. During the course of many years of research and experimentation, the only viable conclusion became evident. The pyramids were not built by slaves. Slaves who were forced to hard labor, who were exposed to vibrations of hatred and fear of cruel punishment or fear of death, were not capable of higher consciousness that is required when building high precision structures such as pyramids. The energy qualities of future pyramids are directly dependent on the quality of thinking and spirituality of those directly involved in building the structure. Therefore, only specifically trained people, priests with their inner spiritual composure, could be entrusted with the construction of pyramids. There could not be any compromise in principle. The whole world is familiar with the discovery of Japanese scientist Masaru Emoto. Through his laboratory studies, he clearly demonstrated how the structure of water reacts to the quality and spiritual content of human thinking. And guys, ladies and gentlemen, if you're not familiar with Emoto's research, probably one of the next things that I'm going to be doing, that's part of the energetic series, is focusing heavily on Professor Emoto. And I have a BioWell GDV system that was used in one of the actual Emoto water tests, meditation experiments where they were changing weather using meditation, bringing a group of people together. And then the Dr. Karatov, who designed the BioWell GDV system, it's a form of Carillion photography that can do biofield, I would say, energy readings of environments. So, for example, one of the things you can use it for, it has a lot of different uses. You can take energy readings from your hands. That's why I make constant, reminders that, you know, today I did an article called on chi. Guys, the BioWell takes readings from your fingers, like right around here on all your fingers, to create a whole map of your biofield top down in your body. It measures it. It takes a photo. It goes, and then it creates a corona, like whatever, not that corona, but like a circle, like of your biofield. And then the way it reflects against the fingertip where the electricity is relative to that glass plate, and goes psh, psh, and then it takes that image, and then it can actually tell you what your entire biofield is from all the chakra points that are connected to each individual finger. It takes it of your thumb, this, every finger you're doing, to take this reading. So that's one form of it. There's also what do you call it? There's a glove that you can wear that does an environmental reading. There's also like TENS pads that you can put on different parts of your body to find out what kind of energy you have in different energy points. And there's also, what do you want to call it? A water meter, a probe that you can actually place in water to find out how its structure changes relative to surroundings. And so, what it's useful for would be that, for like during a Professor Emoto's experiment, say you were trying to send intention to a glass of water to change its cell structure, like Professor Emoto suggests. So, if you're not familiar, folks, I'm going to enlarge these things really quick here. He did a whole series of tests that talked about the water structure of these things. This guy's, again, I really wish that every single time I felt like saying something mean to somebody that hurt my feelings, that I would remember this. And so here's what I'm going to put as a challenge to everybody, okay? Myself included, right? We need to be better people. Those of us that have stronger energy fields, we have to be very, very conscientious about this. Because as much as I knew, like I would know that when I meditated by the ocean, that it had an impact, my thoughts become things amplified by the ocean. Okay, that's why. So I would think about things that I wanted to have happen, awakening, awareness. I wanted people to get what I was talking about, not trick or fool or anything else like that. I just want them to understand or have the ability to understand. I would focus and meditate on that. I would also focus on a better future, what I would like to see happen. And I did that a lot by the ocean. And so if you look at what Professor Emoto does, he did a whole series of studies where basically they would put a glass of water or whatever there, a container of water, and then send messages to it. So, for example, you can see here it says thank you, and it forms what? When you look at the cell structure of thank you, this is what it looks like inside the glass of water. Forgive me. Now, what else is powerful? I got to be honest with you. Hope. See the cell structure? Love. I mean, look how nice these things look. Ave Maria. Look what the devil looks like compared to love. See how discordant it looks? See how malformed it looks? After prayer, that's somebody that's in like that has a love for God, praying to God, and that's what the cell structure of water looks like while they're praying. Scroll up. You're a fool. Look what that looks like. You disgust me. See what that looks like compared to love and gratitude, compared to love and soul, compared to hope, compared to Ave Maria. Now look at the devil compared to prayer. I don't know about you, but this one on the right looks a hell of a lot better than this one on the left, but I guess that's all what you're into. You see what I'm saying? So what kind of world are you creating? What kind of like positive outcomes do you want to seek? This is where it gets really challenging because if someone's facing you with the left hand path here, the devil, as opposed to the right hand path there, as they like to say in esoteric circles, think about how powerful that is when you make a decision not to get roped in to the negative intention of the word devil, the negative intention of words like you disgust me. And look how much more powerful things like thank you and forgive me are. Show gratitude, ask for forgiveness, keep hope in your life, in your heart. What are you programming every day? What this is telling us, ladies and gentlemen, what this information that Professor Emoto has gifted us with here on this physical plane is that everything we do in the biofield resonates into physical matter. It does. It does. This is what you achieve when you focus on hope, love, forgiveness, thanks, gratitude. And this is what happens when you focus on disgust. That's what happens when you focus on the devil compared to prayer. This is powerful. Everybody has this inside them to change the cell structure of water. So let me tell you something. I'm going to ask this of anybody. Will you please do this with me? Everybody in my life, past and present, will you please understand how this affected everything in our lives, good and bad? Will you please understand it? Will you please understand how much I understand it now? I never want to say another cruel word if I can help it. I don't want to go there. And I want to be reminded of what I can do when I don't go there. Because I know what it looks like on the left. When you let the devil into your life, that's what you create. So the next time you see me going into that loop and you can see that my work is suffering, please say, Gabe, don't forget Emoto's water study. And I'm going to ask you not to forget it also. Program people with these other words because it's not programming. It's not mind control. That's mind control. The one on the right, that's building structure. The one on the left, that's a deformed, destructured mass. And the dark workers, especially the Nazis that are in America and abroad, they know everything about making the devil manifest in the water structure. It is being done in our public works system, ladies and gentlemen. Please understand what I'm telling you is real, tangible data. It is not foo-foo new age garbage. I don't do that. I don't play that. I measure. I go out and find the truth. This is everything to psychological warfare. It's also everything in building things. It's also everything in love. It's also everything in making the life that you want. And the more you can get this going amongst other people and understand it, the better off you'll be, the better off our country will be. This is nearly a patriotic act, if you ask me, and not saying that just because you're here, Patriots Parables, but thank you for saying that you'll do that. But yes, I would say this is an act of patriotism. This is why Twitter exists, because it's getting you to follow that left hand path of the devil. Now they're going to get you to argue over its savior, who's also taken the left hand path. Bizarre, strange, but it is what it is, guys. So don't get stuck in loops of negativity. I would say remove yourself from environments that are excessively looped in. Sometimes it's too difficult to say to pray and to love, because you can't always be the one that overpowers that other energy. And some of the best thing that you can do, I'm telling you this, guys, because this part of the trick of the devil, really, if you think about it, is to go like, I'll change. I won't do that. So you have to remove yourself from that energy until you can restore, so that you can get to the after prayer, so you can get to the love frequency. That's the love frequency. That's the hope frequency. That's the thank you frequency. That's the forgiveness frequency. Look at that perfect cell structure. Look at it, it just looks like perfectly formed crystals, all symmetrical and beautiful, compared to disgust, the devil, and hate. Calling somebody a fool. I'm going to hold my mistake up. Okay. When I'm mad, I go there. And I wish I had been better. I wish that I had been a better person and didn't allow myself to go to those places where I was willing to say something bad back, or to begin with. I didn't let my disappointment in a person or a place or an event get to me in such a way that I just made it worse by sending that messaging through my thought form entities into the biofield and into the water frequency of the people around me. So just take it on as a personal responsibility that you can be better than that. You can be stronger than that. You don't have to go there. And but I'd also tell you that one begats the other, and in finding that balance in between is a very challenging thing. It's hard to know when you can actually do something about the situation you're in, and you're sometimes your only option is to go. There's no way you can stay. But you don't have to condemn anyone in your heart. You don't have to hate anyone. You don't have to be bitter about it. You can actually see it for what it was. It was a negativity loop. Okay? So if you're in one of these environments, then we can have a conversation about how you detect them, what the energy signatures are of them. I've measured a lot of these places, folks. I know they exist. Okay, this technology exists, and sadly, it's because we have too many Nazis in our environment. We have too many Nazis in this country, and they're global, and this has been their game. If you think it was all about missiles and bombs and having the biggest, baddest nuclear missile, you were wrong, because they couldn't even get you to opt into those things unless they were messing with the water frequency. So they made sure to do the quiet kill. They did it the back door. They made sure that they got in through the infrastructure, the public works, through all your plumbing lines and your electricity. Once you get past that, then you know what's happened through the Department of Energy, their relationships with certain companies that are connected to things like the Mission Support Alliance. That would be consistent with like organizations, engineering, infrastructure, public works organizations like Jacobs, Centera, SAIC, and Leidos. Just so happens had some relatives who were there, and they all go like, "That's not a thing. Pfft, you're goofy. That's not a thing." By the way, guys, if you ever suspect that I'm that guy, please, 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 no. Like, we are so different in our personality types, you couldn't possibly imagine. We are radically different. I can do a pretty good impersonation of said person, but no, you'll never find me denying the existence of these things like that person does, in ways that are just obscene and whatever. Now, there was times where I was a little too ignorant to have figured it out, But that person, I know they know this. They know all about this. And it's interesting to me that despite the fact that they're also familiar with the trafficking and the negative things that went on in my family, relative to my grandfather James Pettigrew, they don't help me. See, the same person that says, "Forget it, nothing can be done." Your interest in these occult concepts involving the math are stupid and pointless. See, the same person that says that to me, I grew up with and shared a bunk bed with my most of my childhood. And sometimes they think that they can, like, uh, use that relationship to their advantage to try to get me to not think something or not look in deeper into something. And I'm really glad I disregarded that person. If I'd listened to the wisdom of the family, uh, none of this would be passed along to you now the way that it is from me. And I think what I am good at is getting information from all these different places that synchronize with things that I'm experiencing. And then for some strange reason, I'm able to tune into the vibrational frequency of it and then communicate it in a way that others understand. Because this material, most of what I gave you here tonight, this is all Uvarov and Emoto. Gabe did not make this. Okay. But what I am good at is learning that there's validation points to their research that they themselves may not even understand or are occurring or happening. And that when they see my information, they're going to have validation that what they're doing works. And I think that that's really why they try to keep all of us apart. That's why they try to make it to where those of us who study these things have relationship challenges, or they do things to intercept our communication, or do things to make it to where we won't get along, things of that nature. So those of you who would seek to like do that, I'm just letting you know, like, don't. I mean, don't even try. All right. Patriots, I don't necessarily have a way to amplify frequency of a person aside from like the things that you've been seeing here, like the pyramidal structures or whatever. I can tell you that for me personally, there is things that I do to synchronize myself better to earth resonance. That it's a little bit abstract, and piecing it together is something that I only share in a limited audience because I'm not sure. It's experimental on what I do with myself as it is. I'm not sure I'm comfortable sharing all of it, but I've shared it in bits and pieces. Okay. Effectively, what I do, and I don't give you the exact method, but I would be willing to. Again, it's not like I'm a person that holds secrets to a great deal, but I don't want to encourage a lot of other people to do what I do until I really understand it better. I just know it works. For some reason, it works. And it's not about amplifying my frequency, it's about tuning my frequency closer to earth resonance, which in itself, I don't think it's amplifying it as much as it's just synchronizing it properly with the way it should be. I think we should all be at brainwave at least at certain times of the day that match the Schumann resonance. That there should be at certain times of the day we're in a meditative state or in a calmer state where we're actually tuning into the Schumann resonance. And excuse me. And so what I developed was I took look, I have a radionics plate device. It has an input plate and an output plate. I take crystals that are quartz, which is, the purpose of doing that is because quartz resonates within the earth. It gathers in collections. It's almost like an accumulation of all these other materials that form into the larger crystal structure. And I just know that in areas that had a lot of crystal, like in granite, in their like granite threads, in their geography or the geology, I should say, of the region I was in Santa Cruz once. You want to talk about experiencing some really intense synchronicity? My name is Cruz, spelled the same way as the town, and it was filled with quartz crystal and granite. I believe personally that that's what was causing all of the synchronicities. I was synchronizing with things in ways that were just like, this is just like a freaking weird movie. Like, I don't even know what this is. Like, and again, that's when you really begin to have a greater belief in God or at least some other power that's like way stronger than you because could not be happening otherwise. This is some really, really weird, strange things. It's hard for me to describe, guys, but like the synchronicities were just constant and never. They just would not stop. And at some point, I just had to laugh because it was just getting to be like it was great. It was a really good experience. That's the best thing I could tell you. Nothing bad about it, really. Um, so, anyways, I put crystals on an input plate, and then on the output plate, I'll put a glass of water. So similar to like what a moto does. And then I'm basically taking a signal generator and tuning earth resonance in through the crystal and the water simultaneously. And then I also have a way of tuning it to my specific DNA by repurposing some parts from a spooky Rife system. I kind of cobbled this all together. It's something that I kind of did on my own because it just made sense to me. And when I began doing it, I just started to get good results. It's a little bit easier for me to sort of like, I don't know, just tune in and be okay with things and not worry about things as much. It just made it easier. But I wouldn't say it amplifies my frequency. I wouldn't say that it increases influence. I think it just makes it to where I can tune into the POR energy a little bit easier. It just makes it easier for me. Um and it seems almost effortless, whereas maybe without doing it, I might find it harder to get out of negative energy loops, or when I'm in feeling, depressed about something or unhappy about an event or something like that. By doing this tuning process, which does involve some degree of signal generators and radionics, it just seemed to help me that way. But to each their own. That's something that I would only want to show a limited audience, but I would be willing to. But you're getting into things that I think that it's not out of selfishness. It's because YouTube just isn't a good place for it. Like, this is something you want to show people in person. Like, go look. Here's what I do. Here's why I do it. Here, if you want to try it, you can see if it does something for you. Again, I would be all open for that, but it would have to be like a seminar. In fact, guys, if you want to, that'd be a great thing to talk about here. I mean, if you want me to do that, provided you can provide, get me there and reasonably compensate me. Nothing incredible. I'm not trying to get rich doing this, guys. I just can't go broke and poor and be homeless doing it. That's all. But as long as I can afford to do it, and there's a good enough group, even if it's just a few people or even one person, I don't. I That's usually what it's done for, is just one or two people at the most. But I I'm totally willing to do that. I actually considered approaching some of the folks that were actually inside the chat room in one of the locations I was in before, because they seemed to get it. And I was going to ask them if they wanted me to do that at some point in time, but I'm a little bit weary about saying, what the circumstances would be like on an internet chat or something like that. But no, I mean, people that want to learn more and have it done in that way, just let me know. I'm also telling you that, guys, because as of yesterday, I don't have my work from home position anymore, because that I don't have the home anymore. Um, I don't want to talk about it, guys. It was through no action of my own, or anything that I had anything to do with. But yeah, I don't have the house to live in, even temporarily. And my work from home location became very unstable. And in order to maintain a level of safety for myself and for people that I care about, I had to leave that area, and can't go back. So that's the problem. And yeah, so officially yesterday, after a few days on the road, I officially had to tell them that there's just I can't have a solid internet connection to do the job at. So I could probably get back on with them, though, if I did have a location that was stable that I could do work from home at, and I could reapply. And based on the way that I left, they understood the circumstances, they understood why, and they would be pretty cool with me coming back, as far as I know. So that's something out that's I can just throw that out there for folks. Like, I could actually spend time with people if I had the ability to maintain a stable place like that for a little while. I could earn money and then also do energetics research and schoolings, seminars, that kind of thing. So folks that are interested in that, you can email me. Whether you're from the past, present, or future, I'm open to all of it. We can have a conversation or just a chat back and forth. But um, let me know what you think about that if you want to. All my contact details, by the way, are inside the description. I'm not going offline yet, guys, because I want to talk about the Bosnian pyramids also. It's just my back's hurting me right now, so you have to forgive me here. I'm moving around a little bit for that reason right now. I'm getting a really bad backache. All right, so let's get back into this article about Professor Emoto, right? Sorry for the brief whatever break there, guys, but I figured I needed to tell you about my situation, since I was telling you guys that everything was pretty good there, and it was actually, and actually I still feel good right now. But yeah, the thing I find is that the closer I get to this kind of truth, and the more I really figure it out, and I'm able to share it with others in a positive way, the more the dark side tries to throw at me simultaneously. So one last big head Gabe here. Whoop. Yeah. One last thing on that, guys. That's why I'm telling you that when things get like super crazy, like they're everything, like the world is being thrown at you, people around you are freaking out and everything like that. I promise you, if in those moments you can come out of it with your head straight and feeling like it's okay if you get a little tense, guys, a little stress and feel it. Don't beat yourself up over it. But if you can manage through it and try to keep that alpha state and just keep that whatever, it is a remarkable ability, you know? Yeah, Robert Lee just mentioned that Eric Dollard lives in his car. Yeah, like I've actually I've heard that for a number of years. I think that was even true like the last time, like back in 2018, that I was even watching his material because I haven't really paid that much attention to Dollard lately. Um, but yeah, that to me, that's I've always said that that's tragic, guys. Why is it that we have? By the way, guys, I don't even have a car to live in at this point. So I can promise you when you're getting closer to the truth, like people like Eric Dollar do, yeah, like for some strange reason, all the right funding mechanisms just disappear and a lot of drama's thrown into your life completely unnecessarily. And it makes you kind of look up at the sky and go, why me? Well, it's because of you. You are that good. When you're that good, the inverse is right there next to you. And so you got to think about that. All right. Oh, no, no, Patriots. You're thinking of something totally different, but I understand why you'd think that. Patriots said, doesn't Scientology use something similar? You're thinking of an e-meter. Um, yeah, so the concept that you're thinking of would be like a receiver of the same kind of energy that Rife machines and spooky machines transmit. So an e-meter is effectively just there to measure your psychological response through the electricity that flows through your hands. And then if you follow Uvarov's research, he says straight up that this is your third eye in here as well. This is actually part of that whatever it's connected to there. And so what they wind up doing is they hold on to these canisters called the e-meter. They plug into a needle that goes up and down. I think they have digital ones now. And they ask you a whole series of these really bizarre questions, sometimes in repetition. It's damn near well, it is mind control, to be honest with you. I mean, the way they do it, I think. It's an inversion, it's a corruption of something that should be good. So they have that e-meter thing, but they themselves will deny like that likely that even a Rife thing exists. No, if you look up Royal Rife, if you look up the Spooky Tube machine, those are just some of the sources that you can find the technology things that I'm talking about. I've used some different Rife machines that were designed by the concept came from Royal Rife. They're just frequency machines for healing. And so some of them operate like a Rife machine. You can get the same. In fact, that somewhere here I have some of the actual the things you hold on to when it's Rife, and you can hold on to these grips, and it sends the energy through your hands, and it flows all through your body, and it can basically make you feel better over a whole series of different ailments, including aches and pains, colds, all kinds of things can be just made to go away by just holding on to these canisters and running the right frequency profile. It just seems to tune you in to the water frequency. Most of them operate on that principle where it's tuning into your water frequency and then using that as the carrier wave to transmit the other signals through. So it hits your water frequency through the electromagnetic. Well, it's not electromagnetic in the classic sense, but you'll feel it in your hands. It'll have like a you'll be unmistakable. If you turn it up too much, it might actually be like you have to drop the handle. And so Scientologists do an inverse of that. They just measure it so they can learn things about you. A Royal Rife machine says, all right, hold on to these same grips and we're going to send a signal to you to do whatever. You see the difference in the concepts? One is almost like an accumulator and the other one is like a generator. Hmm. So the generator will actually give you energy. I would argue an accumulator would take it from you and give it to the person asking you questions, which is a big part of what Scientology is about. Getting people that have really strong bioenergetic signatures into their society where they can be exploited for said energy and used and have the influence of the people that created Scientology amplified through human conduits. So whether Tom Cruise is benefiting from it or not, whether John Travolta benefits from it or not, they're both victims of a mind control program at the end of the day. Yes, they're benefiting from it. They're even bringing others into the same control system, but all of them are being trafficked for their bioenergy, just so you know. I mean, that's the way I look at it. And that's just like Britney Spears, same thing. She didn't study Scientology, but I promise you that what was being done to her all those years where everybody was like, shut up, you're in a conservatorship. She was having all of her energy drained. So it happens to people from all walks of life, guys. You can't, you got to get rid of this concept of color and gender and class and everything. And I don't care what somebody's situation looks like on the surface. Some of the biggest victims of this are the ones you would expect it to be the least. And they may look very, very well to do and privileged, but some of them are going through hell. And because of the way we're all wired, quite a few people will go, that's not happening. That, no, whatever. Oh, sure, you're having your energy sucked from you. Okay. Oh my God. If I haven't convinced you after this presentation tonight that those people are going through something, then check yourself. Check yourself. During the construction process of constructing the experimental pyramid, convincing evidence was obtained that reinforced the sacred and spiritual influences on water. It was applicable to everything that is touched by human hand. The structure of a pyramid amplifies the vibration of thought. There you go, patriots. The structure of a pyramid amplifies the vibration of thought. Negative thoughts are amplified exponentially. Pyramids built by people of low inner spiritual composure, exposed to harsh and cruel circumstances, would infuse these structures, creating structures that emit negative and destructive energy. So, you need to own your energy signature and you cannot be susceptible to negative energies. It is a practice thing. It's taken me years to figure out, and I'm still working on it. The presence of negative vibrations in any form is not acceptable during the pyramid construction process. Therefore, the Egyptian pyramids could not have been built by slaves. Important conclusion: the construction of a pyramid has to start with the proper selection of those who are going to build it. Don't take it personal. Some people aren't there. It is vitally important that if you're going to engage in any pyramid building, that you take this seriously. If you don't, it'll be to your demise and to those around you and those that are connected to your DNA. You can F up a lot of things. The same way that a whole bunch of people went around thinking they could make orgone cloudbusters. You're moving weather. So just because you get results where you are doesn't mean you're not going to create a bad storm or a drought someplace else. It's selfish to think about it without actually thinking about all the different consequences. So I'm not saying it to lecture you, just know what you're getting into, those who are considering building pyramids. And don't fool yourself, don't trick yourself. You've got to actually know what you're doing, and you got to be around pure hearted people that actually care. And then once you do, you got to get them out of negative energy loops so they can be in a place where they get it, sense it, feel it, and can be of benefit, not just that for their talents and their skills, but for their bioenergy signatures. Because a bad bioenergy signature or one that's corrupted or that's in a negative energy loop will infuse in the construction of the building or pyramid that they're working on. It'll screw everything up. Not their fault a lot of times, but no one owns that process except the individual human being. All right. So I don't want to get too deep into all this part here because I don't have time and we got to get going here. But you'll notice here it says this is an example of contemporary quality work. The pyramid complex being built in spirit in Siberia. Excuse me. The 12-sided foundation is inscribed in a circle with a diameter of 36 meters. The deviation from the given value between the two opposite faces of this 12-sider at a distance of 33 meters is only 4 millimeters, verified using laser equipment. Now look at that, folks. That is a real pyramid concept being built. constructed. And that one you see right there, that big one in the center, that's the one I did a presentation on. These are the Tomsk pyramids. That pyramid right where you see there, when you aim from the tippy point of that at 33.33 degrees, it aims straight in between Little Diomede and Big Diomede Islands, which is the divider between the United States and Russia. And that's a balancing energy structure. It brings balance, it brings positive, life affirming things. I think it's a pure work of benevolent genius to have Uvarov's biosignature within the pyramid, knowing what a cool guy he is. Because if you think about it, he would be interested in balance. He would be interested in cooperation. He'd be interested in patience, understanding, and love, protecting of our families, protecting of those who are innocent, making sure that children aren't harmed. These are all things that I know based on the he considers these vital, important values to have. You must be a good-hearted person with good intentions. If you bring others who do not think like you into the process, they can ruin it. Their energies will be permanently placed inside these structures. It's not something you want to risk. Now look at this. The 12 face foundation of the pyramid near Tomsk. I mean, look at the construction here. This the precision, the artistry. These are like real construction projects. And so this article is really good to read. I'm just going to like scroll through it so you can see what they're talking about. How the human organism is arranged in a way that its physical structure is a projection of the energy system. The energy shells of the human being contain the matrices of the most important systems of the organism. If we mentally extract the first energy shell from its multi layered human aura, we will see in it the matrix of energy channels that is a copy of the vascular system. The second energy body contains the matrix of the peripheral sympathetic nervous system, the third, that of the central nervous system. So you see what they the way that they design these things inside, the precision here and its alignment relative to the human body. I need to find this presentation again. There's a whole animated diagram of this that I want to show you guys, or at least link to within my YouTube channel, that explains this whole process. It has math and everything that shows how you form your thoughts, what the collective hive mind does, all of it. Thoughts become things. It's all discussed inside this video. And I cannot find a copy of it. I used to have it bookmarked and the channel subscribed to, and I don't know what happened. I can't remember what exactly was the whole, anyways. All right. So the Bosnian thing. So I got really excited about this, guys, and I'm going to have to end here in just several minutes. Just so you know, I'm going to end on this note. I would have to do nearly a whole 2 or 3 hours on Bosnia alone, but I wanted to make sure that you understood that after everything I just told you about positive and negative, that I would really strongly recommend you look into the pyramids in Bosnia. A lot of the different people that are, excuse me, a lot of the people that are critics of it have a vested interest in the old ways kind of dominating, and they tend to like talk trash about this Bosnian pyramid. But if you go out and check everything out, you'll understand what I'm saying. These things are naturally, well, they're not to say natural, but these are actual pyramids out there in Bosnia. They found a whole labyrinth system that's underneath, the whole energy system. They have tunnels within the grid that when people go inside them that had like ailments, back pains, they had things that were, what do you want to call it? I mean, look at those. I mean, you can see how intentionally these things were built. These aren't just like ones that happen just because, the magma lined up a certain way. I mean, to some degree, it happened that way. It doesn't really matter, guys, whether it happened that way or somebody actually built all this. Somebody definitely carved out the middles of them and made pyramids or made labyrinths within inside the pyramids. And when people go inside these pyramids and go into those caverns, they did energy readings with the biowell system and the life meter, the helionosis life meter. I have both a helionosis life meter and I have the GDV biowell system that was used to measure people's human energy, human healing principles, in relation to the environmental studies that are done within these types of structures, I can do those in America. So the same things that they use to measure it over there in Bosnia, if somebody wanted to build a pyramid here in the United States, or they knew of one that they thought existed, I could basically use the report that the researchers at the Bosnian pyramid used as a template. Because honestly, guys, this type of research, when you're trying to compare one thing to another, it's like, it's not like electricity where you know definitively when you see this reading that it equals this. It's mostly that when you're taking these environmental readings and these human energy readings, you're aligning it with how the people are affected by the environment, or how the people affect the environment itself, and having this compare and contrasts of taking their human energy readings, their biofield readings relative to what the environment is from different devices. I would consider the helionosis life meter the analog form of it, like old school needle like this. Put a probe in the soil, it tells you exactly a number, it dials into something. I like having something like that that doesn't rely upon a computer at all. So that's one of the reasons why I'm a big believer in the helionosis life meter. But then if you want to get into more complex relationships between the human body and then the environment, I think it helps to have something like the BioWell, which they did, and they did studies with it there too, where you can actually see how the people affect the environment and the environment affects the people. Do they heal from it? Do they feel better from it in a way that's measurable? Because that's really what we're trying to do here, folks, is make it to where these people that are naysayers can't just run around going, that doesn't do anything. Well, it does. It really does. Um, and so, guys, I would really encourage, like, these are all linked to inside my description section. Really pay attention to where there's alignments. Look at these alignments, the different pyramidal structures. I have been following the same type of research before I even read Valery Uvarov. I repeat, I was discovering things on my own. And then what tripped me out was it was synchronizing with his findings. Then when I found his information, it validates my information. I validate his information, and it is coming to us individually. We have our own observations on things that synchronize nearly perfectly. And I'm finding that amongst people that I meet lately too, that they seem to be a missing piece of this larger puzzle involving these geomagnetic areas all across the world. One of my friends recently that I had a great opportunity to spend lots of time with has shown me all kinds of locations in Europe and in Ireland and England that I did not know about before, that synchronizes the things that I learned from Uvarov. And so our information all synchronizes together in this really miraculous and beautiful way that just makes me say, wow, we really are experiencing something. There is a higher power. And what do you think these energy structures are doing? In some cases, guys, they literally have these types of, this is obviously an illustration, but there are some of these types of readings that were actually taken using this type of photography where you could actually see them beaming. And so this is just a little bit more about the Bosnian pyramid, just to give you some quick history. I would really strongly recommend you read these articles if you're considering constructing a pyramid or visiting any pyramids. It's very important that you have the education about energy structures within religious places, why they make minarets the way they do, how the energy travels, similar to like a flute, like an instrument, a musical instrument, the spiral staircases, what roles those play in the energy structures, why, when you go to places like the Astoria column, like I've been, it does what it does. This is all part of it, guys. All right. And yes, I'm going to tell you straight up, I'm going to be ending this with my 3-3 whatever thing. I don't think it's going to actually be that much time in the end because I had to close down this thing a couple times. But anyways, yeah, I really do appreciate you joining, everybody. And if you would like to have conversations or whatever, or learn more, you can find me in the contact details below. This would be a great time also if you want to contribute to the research and help me get around from point A to point B. That would also be a great benefit. There's lots more to be taught. There's lots more to learn. And I look forward to whatever the next energetics adventure brings me to, because I think it's people are freeing their minds and their souls, and they're going to be going on to doing much better things. God bless everybody. Thank you for joining. Have a good night.